Welcome back to Yamcha Sessions. Today we have Tiffany from LocumApps, right? And a bit of context, I think MJ, you're the one that introduced. I think I overheard you guys saying that you guys studied together in the same
we go way back. Man.
You go way back. Maybe you want to induct the audience.
Yeah. Sorry, we were at A-levels, same A-levels together. Wow, it's how long ago? 12 already.
Are you exposing our age? Was that really necessary?
I think people know already.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. But she was, when she came in later, right? You came in middle of, was it middle? You were there from the beginning,
No.
yeah?
So basically, we were assigned to another class, and there were 3 of us girls, and the whole class was just 4 boys.
Yeah.
Basically, they were very rowdy, and we 3 of us decided to request for another transfer, and it took a while for the college to do it. And then
do you know that by 3 of y'all coming, that it raised the average IQ of the class?
Thank you. I will take that as a compliment.
Do you know that we had 3 like long tables and it was literally segregated by IQ? Like honestly.
Hey, you were at my table.
No, I was in the middle. No, you were the other. No, you were the. You know, the one nearest to the door. So this is the one where
you could exit faster.
The scholarships, the everything, and then there's me in the middle, where it's a mix, and then there's like the guys and the football side.
I don't know how they would feel about that. Huh? I don't know how they would feel about that. I don't know how they would feel
to this.
I've actually said this joke before, and they agreed. Yeah.
Hey, by the way, this is self-selection. There wasn't an IQ test at this side of the table.
Of course. Yeah. So anyways, so that's how we met.
Okay.
So funny enough, you tried to look her company up and you found another.
Yeah, dude.
The Locum app.
Yeah.
What is that?
I have no idea. It was like a GPS related thing.
No, so it's actually, okay, so if you want to talk about it, let's talk about that. So basically just to give a context, what we do, LocumApps connects healthcare staff with healthcare facilities. Yeah. So if there's a shortage in a healthcare facility, then we'll be able to send them like qualified clinical staff.
Okay.
So when we were trying to conceptualize the app, I did obviously do some research to see whether any existed. And I did find that same
it's
account.
LocumApp.
LocumApp?
No, I think they were trying to combine the spelling. So like LOCUMAP.
Right.
And they had tried to launch during International Nurses Day, of which I also wanted to do.
Oh no!
But that was 2016. So I wanted to do in 2019. But basically, after that last Instagram post, I hadn't heard anything about them. Their company had already like folded. So I don't think they went ahead with it.
Yeah. Okay, so before we also begin, there's a bit of context as well, right? Because if you are a regular listener of this podcast, you would be like thinking, actually, normally it's Andrew and it's Poigi, right? But today is another Chinese guy, another Indian guy, right? So we also have Vic, because Vic also has quote and unquote 1 foot in the healthcare door, but also in tech. Yeah. So I think that's why we have Vic and MJ here, so we can facilitate more questions on Locum.
Nice.
Right? Okay. We have a few questions, but I think normally I start off with how you got into it. So from the conversation we had before this podcast started, you guys were in A-levels, but you were doing law before this, right? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Yes.
So maybe you talk about how you decided to go into law first.
Yep. So why I decided to go into law.
Yeah.
Basically, my family is quite a healthcare-oriented family. My father's a doctor, my sister's a doctor, my brother's a doctor.
Oh, wow. Then you decided to do law.
So Bank Negara at the time was basically going around to different schools, high schools, and trying to get schools to nominate people for scholarships.
Okay.
So at the time, I think my school had basically told me and a few other people to submit our application, and they submitted most of it for us, and they asked us what you want to do.
That's so nice. Wow.
It's pretty nice. So there was a list of occupations that you could choose, and obviously Bank Negara does not need a doctor, but they did need an actuarist. They needed lawyers, they needed economists, accountants, and a few other items on the list. And at that time, for me, I was more interested in actuarial science, because I liked math.
Okay.
At the time.
At the time.
So this was like early on in SPM, like Form 5 early, before we got into the deep throes of additional math. As time went on and finally the interview came about, already then I had decided that I did not enjoy math. I could do it, but I didn't like it. So already I was like, nope, I'm not doing actuarial science.
God. Okay.
I totally regret. So I actually, on my form itself, had written actuarial science. The interview was fully prepared for that. And I went in there and I said, hey, I know I had applied for this, but I actually changed my mind. I want to do law. So I actually said that to the interviewers at Bank Negara. And I think coincidentally, the person who was interviewing me was also probably AG from the previous legal department. So I think he found it quite interesting and basically discussed law after that. But one of the real reasons is I love to talk and I love to read. So the actual process of being a lawyer was very enjoyable for me.
I see.
If you had taken actual science, you wouldn't be in our class. Because you would need like further math, right? And we didn't do
Yes, that's
further
correct.
math.
Yeah, I wouldn't have met you. And so basically, was
wouldn't be
that
here.
really the point?
That was then multiverse lah.
That was the point.
I think it's also quite rare, right? Like if you see a student that actually decides that actually I know I don't like this now, I think you would be impressed as well, right? You think about it now, right?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, nowadays we talk to loads of people, especially when I interview younger people. They are very good at telling me what they don't want to do.
That's good. Actually, I feel like it's an elimination method. At least you know you don't
No,
like to
but
do
they can say things like, "Oh, I don't like to work hard."
Oh,
"Oh, I don't
wow.
like stress." And you're like, "Oh, okay."
But that's good. But that's good for you, right?
Yeah, no, it's good for me to know, and I think it's
vet
good
it
for
out.
them to know as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they know that that's not the kind of lifestyle that they want.
Oh, sure. Okay, so then you decide. So the guy, did he approach you after that? And he's like, oh, okay, interesting. You decided to bring you into the law department in BNN?
So then they decided to give me the scholarship.
Oh.
Yeah. So then later on I got a call, and
Okay.
then that's when I went to Taylor.
How do you get the scholarship? Is it you need the results plus you need a good testimony or
Okay, so because ours was on the trial-based system, which I think Bank Negara has no longer does, but you should check the Bank Negara website. They have great scholarships. But point being is that they offered us a trial scholarship. So they basically gave us the scholarship based on our trial results.
Oh,
and then
okay.
you have to meet the results in order to secure your scholarship.
Oh.
But it was like, okay, you just need like 7A plus and like something above.
Just
like,
7.
No, like I mean, no, to be fair, like to get bursaries, you needed 9A plus.
okay?
So like relatively speaking, it was a lower
Among
requirement
scholarships,
than,
right,
yeah,
yeah.
than the GPA ones and things like that. Yeah.
Wow.
So it was like a conditional offer.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Oh.
And then obviously, but you would start first. I think we started college before
Oh, right.
our SPM
Definitely.
results came
Before
out.
the
probably.
results come
Yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah.
So there's always a little bit of uncertainty.
Because ours was January, our batch.
Yes.
Certain January.
Yeah.
So the SPM comes out in March, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same thing. I think a lot of people go enter college and all that via their trial results.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
some people wait it out.
Yeah.
And they get their
They take a
scholarship
break.
and they will go in like in May or June.
But what happens if you don't get it? That one I don't really know.
Yeah.
Like I'm not sure whether they actually retract it or whether it's just to incite fear in you.
Were there a lot of slots like for this?
My understanding of the scholarship is that it's quite open in the sense that there are certain minimums that they want to hit, but they don't, from my understanding, they don't have like quotas to
Right.
hit. Like basically, if they don't find suitable candidates, they may not offer.
Oh, okay. So Andrew did a bit of research before this on your LinkedIn, and you did like an internship, and then you decided to join BNM as well after that, right?
So I did an internship with BNM as well. I was one of those freaky kids who did lots of internships because I wasn't sure what area of law I wanted to do. So I interned at a law firm. I interned at Bank Negara, which would be in-house and regulatory law. I also interned with a corporate company. So I interned at MRT Corp.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was all while I was at uni or before I was uni.
What concurrent and
No, one after another.
I see,
Yeah.
I see. That's insane, man. Oh, I mean, like concurrent while you were studying, you mean?
Oh yeah, no, but like the internships were like doing summer breaks and things like that. They weren't very long. So like it's just enough to get exposure to kind of see like what field you wanted to be in.
Sweet. So after that, you joined BNM permanently as well, right? Full time?
Yeah, so because I was bonded to them. So then I served my bond for 3 years.
Oh, it's like a contract.
It is
No,
a contract,
but
yeah.
you need tell him about the length of the contract. That's the crazy.
Let me guess. It's for I'm guessing they paid for your entire undergraduate. Let's say twice of that, 8 years maybe.
So it's 10 years.
Wow.
So I did 1.5 years of A levels. For some reason,
Wow.
the half year rounds up to 1 year. Then the 1 year rounds up to double.
Oh.
But that's right. That's pretty much how it works. Like every year of education is 2 years of bond.
There's almost 3 World Cups, boys.
Wow.
But you can consider that job security.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
It
sure,
is.
for sure.
Yeah.
But that's insane, man.
But it's one of the longer bonds. I think Khazanah, Petronas, they do 1-to-1.
Wow. Damn. Question sidetrack, right? Are all your siblings like you where they all got scholarships and they all went through the same process? Because
No.
no.
But my sister is a doctor in the US.
Okay.
And my brother he did a dual degree in computer science and engineering in Australia. So we all went to different countries and we all went through different processes.
Oh wow, that's madness, man. Actually, I feel like a lot of companies do that. I think Axiata does that now, right? It's kind of like they invest in the youth and then they bring them up and then they
Yeah.
secure them.
Yeah. And when you're young, you're more impressionable. Like definitely, I had to go to this program called BTN. It's like basically all scholars had to attend this camp. I think it was a 1-week camp where they literally like make you wake up early morning, go and march, and then they sit you in a room and they tell you why you need to serve your country. So I was very effectively brainwashed. Like I remember being in the UK and obviously there were job opportunities. And I was like, no, I should come back and serve my country because like it worked, okay? The brainwashing worked really, really well.
Really good.
On me lah.
Let me just.
This is a whole different conversation.
Let me just
This is like
process this. So they wake you up in the morning. They make you do kawai kaki, like make you march.
Yep.
I'm assuming they make you sing the garaku a couple of times.
Probably.
Right.
It may have suppressed some of the
And
memories, but
this made you feel like you needed to come back? Like emotionally?
I mean, there were other steps to it. So obviously there'll be like sessions in the group and then they explain like how did the country get to where it is today. You go through history. They explain a lot about affirmative action as well. Like why the country needed it at that point in time. Then you have like group sessions where you discuss this. Bear in mind, everyone who attends are scholars. So you do get quite stimulating conversations. Like,
of course,
regarding
from
it.
different backgrounds and everything.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But like also bearing in mind that a lot of scholars come from different backgrounds in the sense that some may have come from very, very kampong areas. The first time meeting anyone outside of their race and religious group would have been at this BTN. So it's also quite eye-opening and it's like quite a
But it's also a common
experience.
practice amongst all the organizations that give out scholarship lah, because you don't want to waste
Yeah, your
the talent
your
that you're trying
investment.
to build.
Yeah. Especially since most of the scholars would be qualified to get jobs overseas. You kind of want them to feel the like get it while they're young, right?
Yeah. That is
Indoctrinate
so-
us.
That is so wild. If you were to tell me that this country actually does this, I'm like, wow, this is some new level Naruto unbullshit, bro.
So
Serious,
we
mate.
stayed in a dorm at the NS camp. So just to make it more like contextual.
This is like brain NS lah, basically.
That's quite crazy.
Right.
I mean, it's nothing
Discount
wrong
all
with
the
it.
physical.
I don't know
also-
whether they still do it, but like it's a good way to meet other people. Yeah.
Okay. So so we're gonna get to locum. Don't worry. Hold your horses. I'm just curious, right? Because sometimes people have that decision making, and then you pivot your life. It's
Yep.
quite a pivot, right? To go from law to going into locum services.
Okay, I'll share a little bit about why I didn't think it was as shocking or why did I think it fit in pretty well. So basically, like when it comes to healthcare, you're basically dealing with very sensitive data. You're dealing with people who are more risk aware, sensitive,
Okay.
things like that. But in 2016, I think at the time was the fintech boom. Like basically a lot of companies were launching like e-wallets. they were launching-
Faith and all that.
Yeah, exactly. So we were, at the time when I was in the bank, we were sitting on that, what's that called? Sandbox committee. And I think the legal team was also there to evaluate a lot of the applications. So that was my first exposure to seeing startups kind of come into a space and say, hey, I'm going to make this like 0 to 1 concept. That was the first time I really saw it from a professional standpoint. So when we're actually in that room, interestingly, obviously from a regulatory perspective, we are looking at sustainability, right? You don't want to grant like approval to companies that won't survive.
Of course.
Because if consumers grow dependent on it, you have issues in the economy later. So I got to see startup evaluation methods through a very sustainability like lens.
For long term, okay.
Yep, exactly. And that was very interesting. And also impact, right? Because you don't want to just simply approve people that are doing the same thing or whatever. So I also saw the impact angle. So that was interesting. But at the same time, I saw the innovation that was not happening in healthcare. Because naturally, my family comes from healthcare. My dad actually is a doctor-preneur. He started his own hospital at the age of 47.
Wow.
So growing up, I actually saw his very conservative mindset, kind of saying that, hey, go for a professional degree. Don't like do all this business thing. It's very uncertain. And then seeing him pivot towards being more risk-taking, especially at the age of like 11 and 12 and kind of following him around, looking at sites, seeing where he could set up something. That was very impactful to me. And then kind of combining that with what I was seeing in the in the financial space, where people were innovating so much faster, despite similar concerns like data privacy, security, sensitivity of information. That was happening in both landscapes, but yet
The
financial
healthcare
sector
is not so developed compared to the financial one.
Exactly. So I think that's also why it's not so much of a shift. It's more of like so this is an adjustment, right? Kind of like how do we bring these values that the fintech sector
And translate it to a different industry.
Yes, that's right. Especially a traditional one. Yep.
But don't you also think that there are a lot of advancements, especially like tech stuff within the healthcare industry, right? But do you think like there is a lack of adoption, especially in Malaysia? Like I like one simple example that I always give, right? It's like the stethoscope was created, I don't know, probably in the 80s or 70s, 60s, right? There are digital stethoscopes these days. You don't need to plug it up your ears and you don't need to, But why aren't doctors using it? Why are they still using things like, your blood pressure monitor? Why are they still pressing the pressure?
The squeezing rubber thing.
You know what I mean? So I think to a certain extent, don't you think like this? There has been advancements in terms of technology within the healthcare space, but whether are they adopting it?
I think we have to really look at always the point is, are you really solving a problem?
Sure.
So like if the end user doesn't find it a problem, you must always recognize that they're going to be laggards,
Sure.
right? So like if let's say they find that their existing BP monitor is sufficiently like adequate, you know, it does what it needs to do. It's probably less room for error in their opinion,
Sure.
right? Then why would they want to pick up something new? Secondly, if they have to pay to adopt it, or they have to go through a pain to adopt it, so it might cause them more pain in the short term than the long term. So that's kind of the approach we want to think about the financial sector as well, right? Getting people to move away from going to a physical bank, even getting that concept away from like going cashless.
Yeah.
It has to be such a pain. The pain has to be so overwhelming that they are like, okay, this is going to be the better alternative. And maybe the equivalent of COVID has to happen in that sector.
Yeah.
I think also you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like Malaysia is a very, what's that word I'm looking for? They are not a first mover. Most of the time, right, we try to observe other markets before we go into that segment. Like for example, right, like QR payments in China have been like there for don't know how long already, right? Even PayWave, you know, like credit card PayWave.
Yep.
Like I don't know whether this is true for you guys. You studied in the UK, I'm assuming.
Yep.
And like I'm going to assume at that time people could tap with their card like a touch and go.
Yep.
And only when we came back in like 2014, like maybe only 3 years later, only they're like, oh, now you can tap.
Yeah.
It's so weird. And for me, like I'm like, it doesn't even make sense why it wouldn't be like that. So I think it's so strange how we never even try. Even touch and go e-wallet, it's like, wow, so long before it became like a commonly used thing.
Yeah.
But that's a whole different story. I feel like touch and go is a mess now.
But in that sense, I really appreciate that time I had with the central bank because it kind of gave us this regulatory perspective of like rolling out certain things. So we always look about like consumer readiness, right? So I mean, from a startup standpoint, you'll be looking at market readiness, like is your market ready to adopt this new thing? But from a policy perspective, you'll be kind of looking at if you don't have a society that's willing to adopt it together, will we be creating bigger gaps within different segments of society?
I see.
Right? Because like maybe perhaps like you and I or whoever's in KL would be like happily tapping, right? And then those who are perhaps less exposed, they might be subject to vulnerabilities. People could tell them, oh, if you tap this, you get free money or whatever.
It happens all the time, yeah.
So I think I would say like that lens of which I could see things made me a bit more understanding.
Oh, wow! I didn't even see it that way. My goodness! But I remember we spoke to a guy. His name is Chiman, and he was also in between different industries. And when he went to Maybank, he also found it very difficult to translate that whole what's that called? Was it QR? I think it was Maybank, right? Maybank QR, right? Yeah, QR Pay in Maybank. Took him forever to get them like approved. Yeah, and they were like, oh no, it's very difficult. In fact, he had to bring in his MacBook in order to like find Google Images to email himself, something damn complicated because the processes there are just so rigid. So going back to that, I feel like industry specific health and what do you call that in finance is quite similar, very rigid. Yeah.
But don't you feel like the touch and go adoption was quite hockey stick?
If I'm not mistaken, I don't know whether I heard this from Andrew. It was what's that? My terms are so bad, man, today. It's kind of like they pour a lot of money into
a lot of incentives.
They pour a lot of money into the company in order for it to not fail and to capture the whole market. So after they pour like mad amount of money, right, you become a market leader. I mean, a market, like you own majority of the market, so you cannot lose already. So because of that, majority of people already use touch and go. If you think about it, it's called loss leader.
Loss leader, yeah.
Yeah. So because of that, I think that's why it was adopted.
Yeah, but I also think that business-wise, they pivoted quite a bit. I mean, they were a payment gateway for vehicles. And they're essentially a digital bank-ish. Right?
Kinda now. Yeah. So, can transfer money different countries. Quite crazy, man.
E-wallet.
Yeah.
Remittance.
Okay. I want to dial it just a little bit back, right? But what was the turning point for you to leave BNM and then go into this?
So I think after spending some time in the regulatory space, yes, you kind of feel that your work's impactful, but at the same time, there were a lot of things that we couldn't go ahead and do. So I was at the bank during the government change. And I recall certain projects that we're working on that we felt like were government agnostic in the sense that it wouldn't matter who the government is. But those projects could have felt a little bit derailed because there was like a change in the publicity angle that we wanted to go for. And that was very frustrating. So every now and then I think most of the scholars, when you feel like you have quite a long tenure ahead of you, you would start to get that itch. To explore somewhere else. But for me, the real push was kind of when projects that were meaningful, projects that felt they would impact society in a positive way, were declined purely due to reasons that we couldn't control, public perception-wise. Then I felt like that pull towards private sector was stronger. So it could make more of an impact. Yeah.
Which election are you referring to? Like the 18, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. So direct, the change. We would
suspend projects. Not to say that it would stop, but it would basically be like, okay, let's put this on hold, kind of see what's going
gets
on.
reallocated to like different priorities.
That's
and things
quite
like that,
disheartening, I feel.
It's more of, okay, I don't want to say that because we're not like government. We're not
100%.
government, we're not a government body, right? But definitely there's influence. I mean, like any kind of agenda that you would have to go, like basically Bank Negara is also working with Ministry of Finance, right? And Ministry of Finance agenda was completely different. Let's say they were, at the time, I think they were seeking out corruption. They were trying to solve other things, which I think is true.
AMLA and all that.
Yeah, which are positive changes. They're good things as well. But basically then it just becomes a shifted focus.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, that's a very political way to answer it.
Yeah, the lawyer PR training.
But I can see why, because a lot of people who work for example, you're very committed to a certain project and then it gets shelved or it gets like on hold for a while. I can understand.
Yep.
It doesn't look good on your resume as well, right? Because you're just on hold or you get shifted to a project you're not very passionate about. I can understand.
Yeah. And I think also at the same time, my father was also kind of trying to get me to join him. For a while. So he's been saying that for a while, but then I think the combination of those two factors kind of made me feel like...
But what about your siblings, right?
Oh, my sister was still... The medical training is so long. I think she was still training. My brother was like still in school, I think. Yeah.
Are you the eldest?
No, I'm the middle child.
Oh, middle.
Do I not give off like middle child energy?
No. Youngest actually. That's more
youngest
the energy. Yeah. Okay, so I'm sure there was kind of like a spark, right? That made you feel as if like this is a specific thing that's needed in the industry. What was that spark?
So the real feeling of frustration kind of came up when our HR manager absconded overnight. So this happens in private sector every now and then, like people just disappear. So
Wait, what?
yeah, so I mean, they want to quit, they don't want to tell you. So more you're the HR manager, right? Who are you going to tell? You want to resign, you tell yourself.
Yeah, that's crazy. Man. So, high five on the way out.
Yeah, so there was payroll to pay, there were issues to fix, and then my dad was like, oh my gosh, we need to find someone, but we can't, there's no one to hire someone because the HR
sorry, this is your HR manager for your dad?
Yes, for my dad. So I was already working with him. I was in the strategy department, strategy and legal. I was basically doing some governance thing. And then basically he went, hey, you're a lawyer, right? Go and read the HR Act and go and sit in HR.
That's so Asian. That's so Asian.
It's like, yeah, let's find multi-purpose use for you. But basically, went into the HR department, got some help with a little bit of outsourcing, but at the same time, started to get really, really exposed to the problem of looking for short-term manpower.
And this was while you were with BNM?
No, sorry. I had left the bank already. I had left the bank, so I had joined my father. So when I was in the HR department of the hospital, we would get requests from certain nursing departments who would say things like, oh, okay, tonight our staff is on MC. We basically need someone to cover. They need to have this kind of experience. Then they'll say, HR, can you go and find someone? And I would say, okay, what's the normal protocol? And someone gave me a piece of paper with phone numbers on it. There wasn't even anything else except just phone numbers. And say, WhatsApp all these people. If any of them is free, then you ask their credentials. So I said, why do we know who they are, what they are doing? They said, no time. You just WhatsApp all of them. It's like faster.
There's a budget locum right there.
Yeah. And you know what? I thought it was just an us thing. I was like, okay, maybe the team is small. The HR manager was like not very good. Maybe that's why. Then I started like doing surveys and asking like big hospitals, small hospitals. I started like sending out this Google thing. And it was pretty much a similar approximation.
People living in their own bubble in a way, right? Like that.
Yeah, because then you only rely on your existing network. Yeah, so like, or the best case is like you go through your ex-staff files, then you kind of try to find. And the solution seems quite like obvious, right? So my brother has actually been the one to say, this thing can like be solved in an app. So he was the one who kind of just said it like as an easy thing, right? And then, sometimes you hear suggestions like that and you go,
and then his young brother, so it's like, okay, brother.
Yeah. No, that's not true. but like, I think that idea kind of got stuck in our family dinner table. We would like talk about it every now and then. And we were trying to see iterations that could work. And as the problem became more pressing for me, personally, as being the HR person, I'm like, no, we need this. Like, we definitely need this. Other people need it too. This is like something necessary.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's crazy, man. We had, so I'm in events, right?
Yep.
And I work for my mom and we have a very similar issue.
Yep.
And every time we have like temp staff that just don't turn up, I'm like, oh my God, it's so difficult. It's so stressful.
Yeah.
When the job is supposed to start the next day at 8 a.m. and the client's like, oh, You got
And
nobody.
you spend the whole night texting people, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, are you free? Are you free? Are you free? Do you have a friend? Do you do it that way as well?
Dude, I tell you, I put on Instagram story and then like I asked my recruiter to put it on her Instagram story. You know what's the scariest part is like, touch wood lah, right? People on the way to it get into an accident or that. Wow, that one I tell you, lagi stress, bro.
Yeah, and that happens.
Yeah.
You know, and you
my
have a
God.
shift.
So I'm guessing it's a standard practice, like in the event you need like a locum GP or whatever, and people just blast out messages, is it?
They would ask the staff who can't make it,
Yeah.
go and find your replacement.
Oh my.
Oh wow.
It's like, you can't make it, right? You go and find someone else. So the difference with like the part-timers kind of thing is, in a way, anyone could kind of do it. But when it comes to clinical practice, you can't just get anyone. So like, let's say I'm an ICU nurse and all my friends are A&E nurses.
Yeah.
I can't just get them to come and
Sure.
fill me. I need to find someone who's like literally
ICU.
did the same
Yeah.
thing I did. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm assuming also you all have a WhatsApp group. Like you're graduated to a WhatsApp group and then you're like, anybody you want to take this, that type of thing?
Yes, kind of. So like there are public groups, like large groups, like where basically they say like locum jobs and then everyone joins the group. Or we have Facebook groups. It's basically a lot of social media, not very safe. You know, hospitals themselves, like, do you really want the name of your hospital to be
Be
saying
tarnished because of-
desperately urgent, need
Yeah.
someone now? It's like not great. Yeah.
Just out of curiosity as well, right? Like, are these people evaluated? Like, is
Yeah,
there like a great A&E nurse and a mediocre A&E nurse? Like, how do you?
Okay, so that kind of leads in very nicely to how like we credential, right? And why like credentialing is so important. So when it comes to being able to fill a vacancy, you would want to know that this person is reliable. But before you even get to reliability, you just want to know that they're qualified.
Sure.
So that first baseline would be to see whether they have, number one, the years of experience in that field. But number two, sometimes they need additional papers. It's kind of, they call it a post-basic. So it's like an additional certification that you would need to take in order to be an ICU nurse. You can't just be a nurse, graduate and work in ICU to be an ICU nurse. You literally need to go and study something about intensive care. And similarly for A&E or even in like surgery.
It's specific.
Yep.
Okay.
So they will go and study this post-basic. And a lot of hospitals recruit by sponsoring the post-basic. Then they bond you for a few years. So this is just one of the ways that they do it.
Right.
So let's say we look out for this post-basic, we look out for all of that. Only then we will start to ask, oh, hey, have you guys had a good experience with person A or B?
Right.
And if you are that desperate, you would be like, I don't care about your experience. They have all this. Let's go. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
So you can see how a technology solution just improves it so much, right? Because it's transparent, it's a platform.
And
then-
all the info is there also.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can rate. And for the staff, it's so much easier because instead of every hospital at every shift telling you, hey, I need you urgently, but send me every background information you have about yourself, plus your CV, plus your documentation.
why
Imagine
they
how many
ask.
WhatsApp chats there are just freaking crazy.
Yes. And sometimes you can even reply them and they'll say, okay. And then you wait a bit, like 10 minutes, maybe they say, oh, sorry, I took another job.
Yeah.
Then you're like, oh, I have to start again.
No wonder they work in such a helter-skelter scenario. Like I never see a calm hospital, bro. Everybody's like
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. I mean, when life or death, sometimes I understand that.
Yeah.
But also, especially when there's manpower shortages, it's like really, it makes it so much worse.
Wow. Okay. What about payment though? So is it like you get paid on that day, or because it's a 1 day type of thing or a 1 shift type of thing, right?
Okay, so let me paint the picture before we existed, right? So before we existed, it would be, you would, like HR manager would call them and then we would say the rate that we pay. Sometimes they would try to negotiate. They would say, oh, I don't work for that rate. I only work for this
XYZ.
other higher rate. Yeah, if you need me desperately, you can pay me this rate. So as a HR manager, you're kind of like, oh no, we have a standard rate. We can't do that. But then if it does get that bad, you'll say, okay, fine. I'll take you. And I'll take your rate. Yeah. And occasionally you can haggle. Oh, no, I'll give you free parking, but you take this rate. So things like that was happening. And then subsequent to that, after the job is done, so a lot of clinics will pay by cash, which we think is it's fine, but like it's faster for the staff, but it's quite difficult for them to trace. They don't basically have an estimation of how much they've earned that month. So that's a lot of clinics do. A lot of hospitals pay you with their payroll system. And that normally typically has a cutoff period. Meaning that if you work a shift before their cutoff period, that's fine, you get paid in the month. But let's say you worked on like the 15th or the 17th, you get paid the end of the next one.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
wow.
Yeah. So it can be quite long and you have to remember where you worked. And there could be like 5 to 10 different places. Or it could be one place, but then you just need to remember every shift that you've taken with them.
Oh damn. I
Oh
didn't
my
see it that way. Oh, right.
That's even worse.
Yeah.
How does part-time pay?
For events?
Yeah.
Cash
It's
payments?
after they wire to the account after the job. That's it. It's so
Like
straightforward.
how soon after the job?
Maybe a day?
A day.
Or
Okay.
maybe maximum 2? you
Okay,
know,
so
that
like
type
if
of
the
thing.
same part-timer works for you like for multiple jobs, you would just pay
It's
them
per project.
per project. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. So whereas like I think there's a value to kind of consolidating that as well, kind of seeing
But
it. in
I
one-
mean, theirs is not exactly like specialize in certain things. I mean, there are people who are specialists in booths. There are people who are specialists in like on-ground promotions. There are people who are more salesy, like the credit card people, that type of thing. So I think those are very different, but majority of the time is after project. It's per project basis. It's not like a monthly thing. Wow, so interesting.
Yeah.
That's quite rough, man. Especially the days to track and the shifts to track.
Yep. So like these seem like, wow, so obvious, right? A solution, like a tech solution. You don't even need to be complicated. You just need to make sure that everything's documented. You just need to have a clear system. So in essence or in reality, most hospitals are quite organized. Obviously, the HR has their own way to track. They either use fingerprint, thumbprint, face scanner, log in, log out kind of card.
Yeah.
So the hospitals will have that clarity on how much they need to pay, which departments are using it. But the problem goes back to the staff. They don't have that clarity unless they are organized. If you're someone who like your friend call you, you go and work and you just trust that you'll get paid, it can be quite difficult later on because when you want to look back, you have to try to find the same manager that contacted you on WhatsApp.
Yeah. And then it gets delayed because the guy is sick or the guy is on leave or whatever.
Or they leave. Like because turnover is high, right? So then you kind of need to be passed to someone else and re-explain your problem.
I know this is like somewhat of personal, but like how did you manage to convince your dad that this was a solution? Like, your brother may say it all the time.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how every Asian household will be like, wow, you cook so good, you should make a restaurant. And you're like, I'm not going to do that.
Okay, so
how did you convince your dad that I got a solution?
Yeah. So this story is completely flipped on its head in the sense that my dad was trying to convince me that I should go ahead and turn this into a business.
Wow. Okay then easy lah. Screw that question.
Yeah, so no. But the reason why that matters so much is because obviously like it's the same thing as someone saying go and cook lah, go outside and make it, right? But my dad is the one saying go and make the app lah, go and solve the problem. Right? But it's so easily oversimplified. It's the same lah. Go and start a business. Go and cook something. Right? So my dad's always been someone to encourage us to try new things and always tell us you can do it and you can do it. So that's just the kind of attitude that he has. And obviously starting a business so late in his life at 47 has made him more aware of the fact that if you start earlier, you learn a lot faster. You can afford to fail a bit earlier. So he kept like kind of saying that to me. But I needed to make sense in my head. I won't just dive into something, being a lawyer and all, right? And like there is a element of insecurity lah. Like obviously now you're gonna have to start hiring staff. You have to be responsible for payroll. Like what if it doesn't work? What if I start a business and then I cannot pay my staff?
That is so stressful.
Yeah. So I remember the first week of like deciding to do this, like incorporating the company, I really couldn't sleep. I was just like, and then my dad came to me. See now, you know what it's like to be stressed about work. Yeah, and I'm like, yeah.
You told me to do this, man.
I know, but exactly that, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What about funding? Was your dad part of it or did you find investors?
So early stage, we took a loan first. So we incorporated like 2 ringgit company. You know when you're scared, right? 2 ringgit company, that's all you need. Okay, then we took a loan. Like we took 100K loan.
Okay.
From my dad lah, basically. Okay. And then in my head, like you borrow money, you must pay back, right? So
100%.
Yeah, so I try to do everything to find a way to pay back. So that's how we actually splintered off our company. So although LocumApps is the product, our company name is called We Assist. And I think I had an intern at that time. And I have to give credit to her as well. She was a very brave intern. Her name was Fatin and she basically came and applied for the hospital. And I told her, hey, I'm actually starting a startup. Do you want the stable internship with the hospital that like confirm?
Or you want to risk it for the biscuit?
Yes, and she was like, yeah, that sounds fun. So she was the first employee. Like her ID is like 1, like number 1. So she's the first employee, yeah. And then she was willing to do it. And then basically after that, I just tried to take more and more interns and then turn them into full-time staff.
That is madness, man.
Yeah.
So at that point when you had that one single intern, I'm guessing like, were you at the ideation phase at that stage or?
Okay, one good thing about being so used to doing the grunt work, like being kind of executive level, is that I could do everything without feeling like I needed someone else to do it.
No approval.
So
best.
Yeah. So like basically, I remember us drawing out. Like I didn't know there was this like UI UX was like a thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I just knew that you had to think about UI UX.
Yeah.
So I remember we had like an A4 piece of paper that we drew out every frame of the app, like with pencil, and so we could erase it and redraw it over and over again.
Yeah.
And then we would take it to people and be like,
how do you feel? If you click here, where would you think?
Yeah. That's the logic.
Manual A/B testing.
Yeah.
Kind of, pretty much, yeah. And I remember that was kind of where we were at that stage. So very early on, we actually worked with a vendor. So obviously I couldn't, we didn't want to hire a
expensive
programmer at the moment. We wanted to see how much it could get. So they repurposed a e-hailing app.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that was the early version.
Then
so
they
that's how we
reskin
kept
to-
costs
Oh.
down. So it was very weird. The early version of our app, like you will book a nurse and suddenly it'll be like, your driver has arrived.
Oh, jeez.
That's brilliant.
and there'll be like certain things where you want to put in your like nurse certification, but they'll be like, put in your driver's license. So things like that would like glitch a little bit, and we'll be like, oh shoot. But we just wanted to see that would it work. So the first ever thing I did for the business to decide to do it was to launch the Google like surveys. Basically posted a Google form and started spamming it into all those groups with all the nurses and doctors and
You
like,
downplay this so well, I feel, because if this shit were to happen in real life, the stress you would go through when you see your rider is on the way instead of a nurse, it's so stressful. It's so stressful. If it was me,
Yeah.
I would feel so much stress.
Okay, to be, I was very lucky in a sense. I think I was very young, and then like the kind of managers that I met at different hospitals. I'll get to that story, but like some of the early clients that we had were some huge hospitals who were really, really nice to us because I wrote a letter, like typed out, I didn't handwrite it, typed out a letter and mailed it to them because no one was reading my emails, right? You're like this startup, you have this weird domain that no one has heard of. So I wrote a letter to CEO's office, stuck a stamp on it. I remember I got my intern to stick stamps and they took me to the post office and mailed it. So, you know, when you mail something like someone has to open it, right? So the PA will open it or the CEO will open it. And then there was our brochure. And then with this letter about how like, I'm this young girl who wants to start this business. Please have a meeting with me and my team, blah, blah, blah. And then I think very early on, one of the female CEOs of Park City Medical Center, I think that was one of our first few clients, basically said, okay, come in. So we met with her and then she was like, oh, so you're working here and then you have another team back in the office. And I was like, no, this is my entire team, like 3 of us here. That is the team right now. And they were like, okay, I guess we can try. But we wanted a prepayment.
Ooh.
So because we wouldn't be able to pay the staff, right?
Yeah,
We had no
yeah,
money
yeah,
and we only take like a percentage of the cut. So then I think the prepayment at the time was like 500 ringgit or 1,000. It was so hard to fight for that prepayment as well. But I think they like took a chance lah. And then basically I also told them that, oh, you know, it's still very early, like that's how we keep
You
it
set
so cheap.
expectations in a way.
Yeah, set
Okay.
really, really low expectations. Being a lawyer helps. And then basically made it very clear that you might see certain weird words. So they were prepared. So if the nurse manager saw driver, we say, just assume driver is nurse. And then they were like, okay,
So you
fine.
did like a glossary lah, driver.
Oh my God.
Food is
Okay, no.
equipment.
So thankfully, it wasn't like a food delivery app. If not, it would have gotten more complicated, I think. Yeah. But we've relaunched a completely new app already. So those are our legacy.
That is so
app days.
crazy. You know, right? All these experiences, I am so sure it happened like for so long. And then you just summarized it into like a 30-second clip that you probably watch it on Instagram, and everybody will not even feel the stress you felt in all those days.
I could tell it more stressfully. If it adds drama value, I could tell you the stress.
You
I could
don't
tell
need
you
to, even me just listening to this, right? I can just imagine how many hospitals you have to go through. Find parking, it's damn hot, get lost, find the CEO, the guy's late, the guy's early, then you are late, you're
No, that's
early.
not
So
the
many.
scary part. The scary part is
Presenting.
going into a room and having all of them there.
Watch you.
Yeah, and then saying like, and asking them assurances, and then having them say, okay, you're a lawyer, I trust you, make sure you get it done. And then feeling that weight of that
What kind
responsibility.
of assurances do
That's
they want
mad.
typically?
Normally
mad.
for credentialing, because obviously we're taking the responsibility to credential. So that's one of the things that we need to make sure we do right. Whether or not the app says driver or what, it's like such a small thing compared to the fact that you cannot credential wrongly. If you say someone's an ICU nurse, they have to be an ICU
They better
nurse.
be, man.
Yep, exactly. So that part of being a lawyer helps, but also that's when I made the decision to hire people from the healthcare space into the job approval stage. So I used to approve every single staff. I used to personally do it.
Yeah.
And then to be able to delegate it to another person to do,
It's so much, it's so difficult.
it's so scary.
difficult.
And I honestly became a micromanager and I hated that. Like I would hover over their shoulder. I'm sure my team they get used to it as well. I'll just stand there, I'm like, I need to see you do it like 5 times before I feel like I can walk away. You know, and even then I'll be like, can I spot check your work? Because I'm not sure.
Yeah. But I get it, man. I totally get it. I can feel that with my mom. My mom has owned this business for a long time, and to let go is a very difficult thing because it's your baby in some way, right?
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
your name on the line. So I totally understand. I totally get
Yeah,
it.
and for
Yeah.
us, we feel the weight of the responsibility of messing up because I always tell my team, like when I hire people, I'll say you need to care about this job so much more than you would in any other place because if you make a mistake, literally someone could die.
Oh, sure.
You know, like
Literally life or death, man.
yeah. So like this isn't something to play. You know, you cannot just oops, sorry, like it's write wrong email and retract it. This is not like that. This is you approve the wrong person. They take a job, they go and do something they are not qualified to do. The hospital trusts you. they give
I
the
know
they do the
anything
wrong
about
thing.
it.
Yeah, you
Oh
can't
my
you can't
God.
play it like that. So I think my team understands that, and that's why also like for interviews, normally when I interview candidates, I'm very upfront with them. I kind of tell them like this is the weight of responsibility that you'll be joining us, and this is what you expect to take on. But if you actually want a job that you feel is really impactful, then this is what you want to do. But
Definitely,
if it's like
yeah.
you want just a kind of comfortable job, this is not it. So I've had people like, I won't even offer, I won't even say I want to offer. I'll say, okay, after this interview, I want you to email me. If you still want this job, then we'll talk more about an offer.
That's fair. I
And
feel.
some people will say like, oh, actually, I think this is too much for me. Or some people will say, yeah, no, this sounds exactly like what I've been looking for.
Oh my God. Just listening to this.
So any blunders so far?
Oh, of course, blunders. But blunders, thankfully, not with anyone's life.
Yeah.
But blunders in the sense like... So there are certain things that we try to make error-free. You know, but certain things that like we don't think about in advance, like the way we did prepayment. So very early on, we collected a prepayment, right? But then when you need to pay the staff, sometimes you allow people to keep booking jobs. So at some point, an amount of hospital head orders had exceeded 200,000. And it was basically at that stage of that, because we pay every week, we pay staff every week.
Yeah.
So if you are short 200,000, you don't have 200,000 to pay staff. I remember sitting there making a decision whether do I release money to my locum staff? Do I release my staff salary? And even if I did like partially, like that still wouldn't be enough. You know, so I remember that being really scary and making me realize like, oh my gosh, I've made a mistake. I should have blocked it off. Because I was an opportunist in the sense like, oh, you know, if they're going to post, we're still going to earn eventually. They will still eventually pay us, right? But like that's a cash flow problem.
That's a cash flow thing.
Yeah, that you don't think about very early on. You just want the business. You're like so excited that they are posting jobs that you don't think like, oh my gosh, we can't actually pay people for these jobs because they haven't paid us. So I remember making very desperate calls to CEOs and HR managers and finance managers,
Please.
kind of saying like,
I need you to make
please, I need you to pay. And then they would be like, oh, okay, we'll pay. And then I told my team, turn off the app. And that was like
Bold.
chaos because like all of them had jobs that were like half, like people were coming in, they couldn't access it. But by right, we had the right to do that in our terms and conditions. So I had written it in. I had thought about it like conceptually.
Don't pay, we off.
Well, by right, it's supposed to auto trigger. Like if it falls below a certain amount, it would auto trigger. But I turned off the auto trigger because I didn't want to leave money on the table.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm like, oh, okay, they'll pay. But it had
So
gotten
you mean
bad.
so this auto trigger meaning if they
Like-
don't
Hits
pay
a
a
threshold.
certain
Yeah.
amount,
Yeah.
then
auto.
Yeah,
turn off.
because they had booked an amount that would have
so it's
an
a fix
estimate.
across all clients.
So
or-
initially we had fixed our own amount. So like basically on our system, the old system, it wasn't so changgeh lah. You only can put one number and it will apply to everyone. But we would like just turn it off and we could manually adjust it. So that's what we would do. But at that time we hadn't really turned off anyone's access. So I think that's when they took it so seriously. I was like, I literally cannot pay. That's why I need to turn it off. And that's
This-
when we got payment immediately.
This sounds so controversial. You don't need to answer this question. But which hospital is this?
Oh, I will tell you that. Yeah. I will tell you that, yeah. But I don't think they meant it as well. Like for me, what we learned from that isn't that they don't want to pay. It's that we didn't put in enough controls.
Yeah.
That's the lesson we learned. Like we weren't serious enough with the obligations. If you go to any kind of client, any kind of facility and emphasize what are key things they need to follow in order for us to be able to serve them, and you do it clearly enough, we won't have this problem. So this is purely like, I would say it's my mistake lah. So that's my big
So
blunder.
I assume since then, no issues.
We tend to have much better interactions with our existing hospitals. We keep longer term conversations. We put in penalties for holding deficits for too long. So like we kind of like carrot and stick it a little bit.
Wow, damn man, I can just imagine. You know, I give my
Your stress feeling is like
I give my auntie a lot of stick for this. You know, because she's the finance in my mom's events, and I'm like, why you have to be like that? What? She's like, vendor don't pay, we don't pay client. I'm like, but the client is chasing already. The type of thing.
Yeah.
And it's so difficult to navigate this relationship because at the same time, like I want to pay my supply. My supply has been chasing me, but my client hasn't paid me. I have to chase the client. My client is on leave. I'm like, oh my god. I
exactly.
totally know how you feel. It's
And
so
as
stressful.
the middleman, they will expect you to bear the loss.
Yeah.
You know, because that's what you're profiting from being the connection, right? So if you are not making sure that connection is smooth, whose fault is it? In a way lah,
Yeah. It's like you didn't manage your cash flow properly, right?
Yeah. That's how I view it. Yeah. And then now we try to do better lah.
That is, I don't know. Sometimes I feel right, the podcast does not do the justice of the emotion that you go through, man. All this is just words.
So that's for a documentary. You know, you wanna like follow through the.
These are just words. When you're in that position, you might cry, man. I tell you. Oh my
Just sitting
God.
there looking at the phone, going, "Okay, whose turn to call?"
And
This
you have to be
hospital.
patient.
Yeah.
That you can't even do anything. You just gotta wait. So messed up, man, I tell you. Okay. I suppose those are some of the challenges that you face. But are there some of the unique challenges that you face with the people, like the locums themselves? Like, are there people who drop off last minute? Are there like user challenges, that type of thing? What are some of those types of challenges?
Yeah, I think Vic hinted at this earlier a little bit about like sometimes talking to people from clinical professions, it can be quite hard to convince them to try something that's more tech savvy or tech driven, especially if they're very used to doing it their own way.
Yeah.
So we've definitely had, I think one of the first experiences with that was we had a lady who wanted to use our app. She was in her 60s and she called the landline. So we have a WhatsApp number and we have a landline. And our landline like never rings. So like unless it's like tax office or DBKL or something, right?
Or scam call.
Yeah, so our landline rang and then she called. She's like, hi, I want to speak to owner of app. And then we were like, oh, okay. She called us and she was like, hey, I'm trying to apply for your app and your app's stupid.
Nice. Thank you.
And we were like, oh, okay, why? And she's like, they asked for so many things, just let me use it lah. You know, and basically like pointed out like certain things, like the buttons were too small, the words like she couldn't read. And I was like, what problem is this? Like everything is very visible, so easy. But obviously I'm coming from a mindset of like being a millennial, my staff were all like around my age.
Yeah.
So we only found out how old she was after she finally uploaded her IC, of which needed us to be like,
verification.
click the button. Okay, after you click, you must click apply. You if you don't click save or apply, it will not save. She's like, why must click save? No, just click save. Okay, and then you click next. So we had to do like that on the phone. And after all of that, we were like, oh, okay, we saw her IC. We were like, oh, she's actually like in her 60s. And then we basically like gave us an awareness like, oh, okay, you know what? There's going to be a lot of different types of people using this platform. And they're not all going to think about it the way we think about it. So since then, our app has changed a lot to more iconography. Like as much as possible, we'll try to use an icon instead of
text.
words.
Lesser words.
So most of our like information would lead on them onto a video instead. So then they could like watch the video tutorial. Because for us, maybe we might be more familiar with like a FAQ sheet, but like different people might absorb things differently. So we would have to release the same information out in multiple mediums. And that I would say is one of the challenges with working with so many different kinds of healthcare staff. Because like the competency of a doctor would differ very vastly from competency of a clinic assistant and what they're used to and what kind of information they will want to consume. Yeah.
That is so wild, man. Oh my God, man. I just hearing that also stresses me out. I don't know why. Maybe I got too many old people asking me this type of questions.
So you feel it lah. I mean, you get it, right?
Oh
Like,
my God.
like-
Then your ear is damn hot on the phone.
Oh,
because
you know,
it's
I always speaker it. I can't really.
But landline, why? You're like, landline.
Oh yeah, no, the landline was bad. Some more, it kept crackling, so you have to press very hard against your ear, and you're like, huh? Sorry, say it
Meddling
again.
with the cable.
This is 100% millennial problem. You go through this transition of tech and you're trying to bridge the gap.
Yeah.
But
But also, that's the only reason we exist. Like, we are there to help them. So if the fact that we can provide value to them, if they know how to do it, there's no reason for us, right?
Well, such a positive way to take the things. Wow. You asking something?
but
Vic?
no, but just to segue a bit, right? Like, you know, speaking of experiences, like you know, sometimes like things that we think that is rather straightforward, right? Like
Instinctual.
as simple as, you know, minimizing and like expanding the window, you
The
know.
corner of
You just know it's there, right? But it is not programmed within the boomers, for example, because they don't understand that these are the basic navigation tools that is available, right? So,
And
I
you
mean,
learn as you go.
you learn as you go, yeah, for sure. So it's fascinating. I've experienced something like this as well.
So
like
positive today.
it's as simple as trying to explain to my parents during COVID, right, about what a cloud is.
Oh,
Like my
That
dad's
is
like
true.
hey, my phone always showing me
Upload to
memory
cloud.
full. What you want me to do? You can help me.
delete
Then
lah.
I say, oh, pa, you just put on the cloud lah. What cloud? Then he hit me right. Actually, they don't know what a cloud is because they didn't have the transition.
Like
you know what I
rain,
mean?
rain comes from the cloud.
Yeah,
right?
for them it's what you call that server room.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's their definition of like, you know, taking and something and just storing in there. And maybe they have transitioned into hard drives, but they don't know that this thing became virtual now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they are finding it hard to navigate around this because they skipped a couple of steps.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Also because I think like, I don't know about you all. I'm like 33 this year, 34 this, 32 this year, sorry. And like, you know how when Snapchat came out and you're just like, you gotta learn how Snapchat works.
Yeah.
They didn't really have a tutorial. It's kind of like, you gotta be cool. If you're
Meant
cool,
to be
then you know.
intuitive.
Yeah. So I think like a lot of stuff went through this process of, oh, you should know it. And then like, it suddenly became, I don't even know how to use like certain like SharePoint, for example. I'm like, wow, this is, what is this? Nick introduced me to this like cloud system where you can just drop in documents and then we can just share it and then like he will delete. I'm like, wow, this is just so complicated for me, man. Oh my God. Like what happened to just WeTransfer link? It just happened so fast now.
I saw a video of a young kid like flipping through a book and they're like trying to zoom into the book.
Oh my God.
Oh,
That's it lah.
They're used to the iPad or something,
Yeah,
right?
That's it lah.
So-
Skynet lah.
I don't know if I told you guys before, like, the floppy disk.
Yeah, that's good.
The save icon.
Yeah, like there was this kid who asked like, oh, why do you have a save icon toy?
Yeah.
floppy disk.
Oh, so that's an icon. Okay. So cute.
Yeah. Kind of wild, man.
I bet they don't know what.
A DVD is.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I know, right?
Oh, I like to play this game with my staff. I'm like, who knows what this is? And then you kind of see how old everyone is. And then
Yeah,
some of
yeah.
them never used MSN.
I guess what is like working, they're all Gen Zs or lower, right?
No, I have some older than me. I have some. We have like a range, but obviously
Okay.
like our oldest like being under 40 and our like youngest being like 25. But it's still like big enough of a gap. Yeah.
It's so crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. I think the world is insane. What's the market response so far? So you started in 2017, 16?
2020. Wait,
Oh, you
what?
started in 2020?
Yeah, 2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you started in 2020. Oh shit, it was COVID, bro.
Yeah. No, we were very like, I would say lucky or unlucky. So basically I had an event, like a launch event. Remember I was saying I wanted to do it International Nurses Day. And that's like May 6th, I think. And then I had this plan to do an event, have a booth. And then lockdown was announced like May 1st or something like
Yeah.
that. So basically our launch was like virtual. Very quickly we put together this thing. Loads of people were really nice. We emailed a bunch of people and asked them to record a welcome video.
Okay.
We got like a financial advisor. We got like this professor. A bunch of people basically started talking and then like helping us digitally launch our project. Yeah, but we lost out on a lot of the intended outcomes, which was for the ward nurses, ICU, A&E.
Definitely.
Yeah, so the first 2 years was almost completely COVID vaccination staff or COVID swab staff.
Wow. Actually, now that I think about, like long ago before COVID in 2019, I was having this like internal discussion with my mom, my aunt, and my uncle, and all the staff in MEP. We were discussing on how we would market our anniversary. It was like our 25th anniversary at the time.
Okay.
And then we were thinking about how like, and I was like, I feel like we should diversify the business. I know I'm going off tangent here, I'm sorry, but like, I was thinking how we should diversify, just don't do physical events. And my aunt told me like physical events will always be there, no matter what. So 2020 happened and she ate it hard. She ate her words hard.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, see,
Trying to keep his "I told you so" back. But
I don't say it. It's no point. No point me saying it. So
it's probably all over your face. Like, see?
yeah. But it's strange because after we recovered from COVID, which was a brutal battle,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
After recover, I realized that the value of a physical event is so strong compared to a virtual event, right? Like I think what you say is completely true. You will lose out a lot on the people who are not so tech savvy type of thing, because I think it's kind of like a human thing to congregate, see, touch, feel, hear, meet people, and then you just somehow learn faster.
Yeah,
in some way.
and that's why like even my Sejahterra had to have those like physical booths to get people to like put in their vaccination certs. Like that's why the cards were so relevant for so many people.
Yeah.
All of us were like, just show the app, right? But so many people wanted to keep the cards with them, like your vaccination card.
Yeah. It's so wild. That's crazy. So I was going to touch on that. What was the market response after then? Because you launched it online, so I'm assuming it wouldn't be as strong as a physical event then.
Yep.
But how was it? Was it a very slow growth type of thing? Or?
So I guess fortunately for us, we're kind of in the right sector. Like in the sense, healthcare didn't
tech
have
also,
and healthcare didn't close.
Oh, yeah,
In the sense, like we were still allowed to operate under an emergency sort of thing.
Yeah.
So there were people were. I think we got SEO right like really early.
That's good.
So people were downloading our app even without us doing anything. And every day since we launched, there have been downloads. So I remember the first few people who had downloaded, I called every single one of them so excited. Hey, you just downloaded my app. And they were like, what's this? Yeah, so got very excited like when you registered. And I think the first step on the app at that time was like, put in your phone number, you get a 6-digit code. So then we just had a lot of phone numbers and not everyone went to complete the application. So I would call them and try to get them to do it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see.
So that was like the early sort of like activation methods that we would do. But beyond that as well, I think response-wise, you could see that there was this interest because people were downloading it, meaning that they felt like this thing should exist. And a lot of the questions we got were like, why didn't this exist before? Why isn't anyone else doing this?
Wonderful, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it felt like, oh, okay, we're actually getting kind of like solving someone's problem.
Definitely.
But for us, it's trying to build that trust, right? Like subsequently going to clinics, going to hospitals. Fortunately, obviously, my dad's hospital being one of the first few clients, but their volume was very low. So like, we got test out certain concepts, but like you can't go out and tell people, yeah, I have one hospital on board and that's like my father's hospital. You can't do that, right? So basically we would keep trying to go out and say like we wanted the first few people to believe in us and trust us. We spoke to some clinics. People were open to the idea, but everyone felt very hesitant to transfer that money. And it made me like doubt myself so many times because people would say, just take away the prepayment. Like you don't need it, just get them to try first. But at the end of the day, I felt quite strongly about it. Maybe it's my risk aversion as like a lawyer, right? I basically felt like, no lah, what if they do it, they use it and they don't want to pay?
Yeah.
Like if it's so hard to get them to pay now, like it will be harder if like they rack up a deficit, right?
Yeah, I think I kind of feel how you feel too. Sometimes you feel like you have to pay for a service for you to believe in the service. Sometimes if you don't pay for it, then somehow it feels
It's a commitment.
People also take it for granted. You know what I mean? Like when something is just given to you, you wouldn't appreciate it as much.
Yeah, it's also, if you play a lot of mobile games, it's the same mechanic. You don't give something for free and then you start charging it. Otherwise, people will be like, I'm not going to use it. So I see merit in doing that, in charging
But
it.
having said that, we got so desperate at one point. We were like, I just want a clinic to register. So we did get one clinic to register, but there was no point because they wouldn't use it. Like they were not
they take it for granted.
activated. They just didn't post jobs. So my fear didn't come true where they were using it a lot without paying. They just didn't take the effort to learn it because naturally the CEOs or managers would say, okay, go ahead. But then the people on the ground would be the ones using
to learn
it.
a new platform or whatever.
Exactly. And that's how I also learned the differentiation between decision maker and end user. Like we had to design our product to be suitable for the end user, but it had to be palatable to the decision maker.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like two different people of very, very differing levels.
That is crazy. I didn't even think about it that way.
Yeah, I mean that's the perpetual app problem, like who's going to use it? And I think that this happens always with healthcare because you have people designing products that like patients want. I think very early on, a lot of the early health tech startups were working on like queue management, were working on things that patients were waiting for. Like how are we going to get the line shorter? How are we going to... There are problems with doctors and things like that.
Yeah.
But then actually the end users weren't these people. These were the people requesting it, but the end users were ultimately going to be like, can you get your doctor to agree to put your information on this app? Can you get cooperation from the hospital? And these were the end users that you need to kind of get their buy-in on.
I see. Okay, I know this is quite a stupid question as well, and I feel like I've been asking a lot of questions. I feel so bad. Like Vic and MJ are just...
It's all right, man.
All right.
Go for it.
I downloaded the app, but I didn't follow through because you need to send in IC. And I'm like,
Sorry,
oh my
it
God.
wouldn't have worked for you because we would have just rejected you. You're not a nurse. No.
Okay, so this locum app is only specifically for hospitals and for these for locums only, right?
Clinical staff, yeah.
I see.
So we had a short experimentation period with something called Locum Home. Basically, when I gave birth last year, I did my confinement at home and I
Congrats.
booked confinement nurses to my house to kind of bring down the cost of confinement care. And also because I knew these nurses were working at confinement centers.
That's...
Because those are some of our clients as well. So I was kind of just trying to experiment like, I'm sure there's lots of people who
You
want to do
test
that.
it on yourself, so
Yeah, so I tell my team, hey guys, you big shirt, like I get really someone that's like, okay, because it's my first child, that kind of thing. But like, I mean, I think it proved that it could work. Like the concept was correct, in the sense that I had like great care. They came and cared for my baby. I felt like safe knowing that this is not some confinement lady, this is a confinement nurse. So this person could check my wound. I didn't need to go back to the hospital multiple times. In terms of food, like I had ordered a confinement food delivery service. So that wasn't a problem. I had a helper who could do like the home chores. What I really needed was someone to tell me whether my baby was okay or not, whether I was recovering fine. And they actually diagnosed jaundice, like severe jaundice with my baby, which I didn't like realize.
That's mad.
Yeah, so they came and they were like, I think you need to take your baby to the clinic. I was like, he doesn't look okay. So I was okay. So the next day I did. And then he's like, he had to go for phototherapy. So it was I felt very grateful that I had someone who could tell me what to do. Exactly. Yeah.
Is that something that you have already launched?
So we tested this out as a version last year, but then we realized that in order for it to really, really work, we didn't want to remove the hospital from the equation. So last year we were kind of going direct to consumer. Sure. And there's a lot of complications when you do that because we have to trust that the consumer knows what care they're supposed to receive.
Yeah, man.
And we did do it some to limited like groups. I think we rolled out like partially different people had it. Like we did it for stroke care, we did it for cancer care. But what we ultimately realized was that when you remove like clinical professionals from the equation, you strand nurses straight away. There's a lot of risk that we didn't feel comfortable taking.
Yeah. What are some of these risks, if you don't mind me asking?
Perhaps like a family member would hear from their friend, hey, they gave this kind of medication, they get it from somewhere else and they say, why do you
Oh, they
administer this?
abuse it.
Or not necessarily abuse it, or just like misguided, right? Misguided knowledge. I mean, how many of us know like family members who would suggest, like, hey, just take this medicine, take this antibiotics,
Yeah.
you know? And then you're like, wait, you're not supposed to take that unless prescribed. And that happens a lot in like Asia especially. So I think ultimately, like I do see that eventually being a market that we can serve, and there's a huge potential, especially when you have so many clinical staff on board. But ultimately, my plan right now is I don't see this being removed from clinical facilities. So I'll give you an example. In the UK, right, the NHS has launched something called wards at home or virtual wards. So it costs a lot of money to keep people in the hospital. But the hospitals don't earn a lot of money, you know, from that. So it's kind of this interesting thing because people get infection, blah, blah, blah. So it's actually better for them to go home. But then a lot of the times you cannot send them home because you need clinical supervision. And once you send them home, they're discharged. They're removed from like the clinical notes. You don't have enough information about
You don't
them.
have eyes on them, man.
Exactly. And then if they come back, then you basically have this gap and you don't know what happened. Yeah. And then sometimes that costs more money. You re-diagnose them. It's problematic. So a lot of the concept in the UK and NHS is that they would send you home, but they would like kind of send someone to supervise you. So it'll be cheaper than keeping you in the hospital. It'll probably be better for you as a patient as well. And I think that concept can sit really, really well in a society like ours, where a lot of people want care at home. They probably have helpers and maids to assist, or family members who want to be there.
Yeah.
But then you do need some kind of clinical supervision.
A specialist of some sort.
Yeah,
That-
like a
that's-
nurse or whatever. I think eventually that's a direction we could go into. And I think that's something that can roll out in Asia.
If I'm not mistaken, something similar already exists in Malaysia. I'm not so sure. Is it Doc to You? Is it book doc? Something like that?
Yeah.
right?
There's lots of like, what they call that, like doctors at home kind of services. But a lot of them is more of the doctor comes to your house. I don't think they involve the imaging from the hospital.
Oh, I
they
see.
remove the like hospital from it.
It's the doctors.
Yeah. So the service
okay.
is still kind of personal. Whereas in my view, like what I see being kind of beneficial, and it's not the view that many people hold, I think, is that you shouldn't remove the hospital or the clinic from the
Because it's
equation.
a form of legitimacy also lah.
Yeah,
right?
and I think it will impact your insurance as well eventually. Like, you know, if you want to say it's continuous care in a hospital, obviously you want that to be covered. And it's probably cheaper for insurers.
That's true. Rather than a renegade doctor, it's like, oh, where is he from? I don't know. He's a doctor.
Yeah. Okay, maybe.
In some way, I can kind of see that. My wife works for memes, so that's why she was like asking what's the difference. Because I was like, I don't really think I can even enter the locum app lah. Then she's like, oh, maybe you should just ask. So I was just curious. Yeah.
Okay, so what does MIMS do?
Whoa, damn.
I mean, if your wife works for it, you should tell me.
So I'm going to summarize lah, okay?
Yeah.
So memes is basically like a directory where you go there and then you see basically a list of equipment for doctors. So doctors basically go there and then they see, oh, this equipment, this start met. It's kind of like a Wikipedia for doctors.
Okay.
To sum it up shortly, like,
Okay.
I'm terrible when it comes to like explaining a full-fledged, but she works in the marketing department and she promotes a health magazine.
Okay.
So I think if I'm not mistaken, it's called Health Today, I think it's Health Today. Yeah. So she does that and then she works with a writer to come up with like health articles, which is so strange. You know, like if you think about it, right, healthcare is like a ever-changing, evolving thing.
Yep.
And like, for example, my dad used to say like butter is really good for you. And then later on, it's like, actually, margarine is very good for you. And then later I was like, no, actually, butter is very good for you. I'm like, Dad, you got to make up your mind. I'm like, then, you know, I was 13 at the time and I asked him this question. I was like, you don't even know what's good.
Yeah.
And my dad was like, yeah, because things change, John.
Ooh.
Then I'm like, so? You just don't know. But when I'm older,
Yeah.
and then you look at the vaccination situation, right? A lot of people are saying, oh, pro-vax. And then after that, you see people get seizures and shit. And you're like, maybe vax, not for everybody. You got to see the situation depending on your... And then I start to realize like, maybe we should be paying for health news. You know, like maybe what we read online is not necessary. You know, sometimes you get a headache and then you go and Google and then you're like, yeah, brain tumor. You know what I mean? Like, how did I get here? I don't know, man.
Yep.
So I kind of feel it, but it's so difficult to convince the average Joe that you have to pay for your news now.
So there's a lot of health misinformation.
Yeah.
So interestingly, we also have a magazine. We call it the Health Expert Magazine. It has a KDN license, but also obviously the same problem, right? Notice a lot of misinformation going around.
It's tough.
People are trying to get accessibility to more information that, you know, they actually, for us as a principle, as a vision, is that we think we can use technology to help connect people to healthcare. And that's either going to be through the form of services, it's going to either be through the internet, it's either going to be through digital marketing. These are all different ways in which you can get connected to healthcare.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like pretty much, I think every kind of healthcare company sees it as that's the real problem. Like there's no...
It's tough, man.
Yeah, information isn't easily available and there's so much misinformation.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm not shitting on TCM. Okay, I'm just putting it out there. I feel like sometimes people take TCM to a whole new level and they're like, yeah, drink lemon water and then it'll go away. I'm like, I don't know lah.
So in my family, my mom follows like TCM stuff and my dad follows modern medicine. And my dad always says, go to your mom first. Ask her to try to treat you first. If like it doesn't work, then come I'll give you medicine.
Yeah, but some people believe so strongly. I have like friends who like
eat the porcupine quill.
Yeah, I don't
Cordyceps. I keep hearing cordyceps.
Cordyceps, yeah.
It's like a mushroom.
I'm gonna hand over to Andrew real quick. I think he probably has a lot more very business centric questions.
Okay.
I felt like
Actually, do you want to stay? Yeah, maybe I can swap out. I got a really bad headache.
Okay.
oh shit,
Yeah,
sure
yeah.
man.
You're doing really well.
I'm trying to keep
Do you
myself
need
together.
a doctor? I have an app for that.
Perhaps.
Sure, man. If you're not feeling too good, it's all right, man.
Thanks,
Yeah,
thanks.
yeah. But I do sense that stress with her, and because she's been in the health. My wife has been in the healthcare situation for quite a bit. She was like in a couple of like it was MHTC, then she joined, and like you can see that trend that a lot of people don't really have that ability to trust. I don't know whether it's a Malaysian thing. I think it's actually a worldwide thing because in the US, I feel they face the same problem, and it sounds so wild, right? But you know, people in the US, they don't have clinics. They only have hospitals.
Then what's Mayo Clinic about?
I don't know what Mayo Clinic is, but I do know that like, what's Mayo Clinic? Can you just
Yeah, Mayo Clinic, right?
Like-
Isn't that
Oh my goodness, no. Mayo Clinic is a hospital. It's a hospital. It's a hospital. It's a
misleading,
huge hospital. It's a gigantic hospital.
Yeah.
Gigantic
Andrew can
hospital.
attest to
My dad
this.
went to Mayo Clinic. He did his fellowship there.
right?
It's a huge
There
hospital.
are no clinics, right, in the US. I mean, there are dental clinics, but there are
Okay,
no, like,
there are clinics. Okay, so clinics are like the visitation you have with your doctor. That's like a clinic.
like hey, you got fever.
So a
Here,
clinic can be in
antibiotic.
a hospital lah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So you go to
okay.
clinic, yeah.
So technically got lah.
So it's a bit like, it can be a bit confusing, but I guess you would have fewer mini like clinic kesihatan sort of situations.
Yeah.
Like or health center. I think they call it like a health center. They would probably have a health center, but like maybe it's not called a clinic. I don't know.
There are fewer clinics that are clinics in our Malaysian sense in the US though.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes. I've been to a few in New Jersey and New York. They exist.
Like Chinatown has a lot. Like Malaysia.
And not the
Asian.
Tita TCM kind. It's like actual
proper-
clinic.
proper-
actual
Yeah.
clinic. They,
When I
they
was-
exist, but there
when
are
I-
few lah.
When I was in SF, I didn't even see one. I just remembered that every time I had to do something, I had to go to the hospital. I had to go through like, and they go through like, oh, this, that. Then go to the pharmacy and get your prescription. I'm like, wait, so I can't get my meds here? It's like, no, you got to go down the road.
Oh yeah.
And it was
You'll
ridiculous.
You'll pick up your
Yeah, the meds.
prescription elsewhere.
Yeah, I have to ask on TCM because I think it's very interesting from a business point of view. It's very good, right? I mean, people like to debate
Margins
on
are
the people like to debate on the science on it.
Yeah.
Money is to be made, right?
Okay.
Right. I mean, if you can make good margin selling mushrooms, that may or may not work. Just sell it. But I mean, jokes aside, like how does that play into locum? Because there's a huge demand, right?
Yep, correct.
Like what your dad said. There's always let's try that first,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
this is such a typical
Yeah.
sort of Chinese
Yeah.
thing.
So there are locum doctors for TCM as well.
Wow.
So TCM locum doctors, but we currently don't put them on our platform. I think because we don't have super clear idea of what demand is going to look like. But in terms of verifying their credentials, like you can take like a TCM entire course from IMU. You know?
What?
Yeah,
Wait,
that's
you
like-
have courses now on TCM?
Yeah. It's not like this random sifu somewhere, you know.
I
This is
always
like-
thought it was that.
Yeah.
I thought you learned from someone and then you're like, okay, thank you.
No, so
Sifu.
the
Time to start
interesting
my own.
about TCM is that like the science is not clear, right? Like if you go into, they call it Western. Some people don't like the term Western medicine because to them is medicine just medicine, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing in West. But anyways, for sake of simplicity, like Western medicine, there's always a science behind it. There's experiments, whatever. But the thing about TCM is that it's been around for a long time, and there are like areas and pockets where it works for people. Like literally we take that. It's just not repeatable, right?
Not necessarily. I mean, there are certain very strong scientific bases for
true,
like
true.
TCM. It's just like being the source being from Asia, perhaps, you know, like maybe it hasn't gotten adoption from the Western world. But it doesn't mean there isn't support for the science for it. And that's why there are schools that teach it. And that's why a lot of hospitals,
Right.
especially in Asia, combine the knowledge of both. Yeah, especially when it comes to food. I think like Tung Shin Hospital being one of them, having very strong like TCM unit,
see.
and then combining that with like surgery, like post-surgery recovery.
They do. There's TCM surgeries also.
No. So the surgery is still going like by normal surgery.
Yeah.
But then like
post-care.
recovery, or just preparing your body for surgery. So it's not uncommon, and if you speak to a lot of doctors, they will also tell you like, oh, okay, don't take this. For example, like with, let's say you had I remember my ankle surgery doctor kind of telling me, don't take porcupine quills. And
Don't
what is
take porcupine pills?
quills?
Oh, quills, okay.
So that's like one of the things that people take a lot in TCM. I think they like grind it to a powder and then they eat it. And what it does is that it promotes cell recovery. So like that's like, I think it's scientific, like they promote like cell recovery, but then the problem with that is that if you recover, you can have like keloids internally. So then your scar tissue makes it hard to have like ankle flexibility later.
Wow.
So there are like sciences behind it. There are reasons why you would do something and why you wouldn't. Yeah.
Part of the reason why I always felt people like TCM survive is because of generally the low risk nature. Like the stuff that
It's
they
not
put
intrusive
inside.
also.
Or they cannot identify whether the problem that came was because they followed TCM or they didn't.
And then maybe there's a placebo effect thrown into it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So like when I was when I influenza A, right? My mom was just like, this, that, and then Panadol, right?
Yeah.
Down the TCM drink with the Panadol.
Yeah.
Right? So it's the best
It's
of
like,
both worlds.
yeah.
And for me, it's like when I was younger, I thought, how do you know this works and where's the science behind it and all that? Then I realized actually no risk, it doesn't matter. And then some of them they put some sugar so it tastes not too bad. So drink it lah.
Yeah, like if I'm sick, I always get like I always go to that Tonghua whatever shop and I always get like the bitter medicine.
Yeah, or like the one I usually
Like the
it's called
heaty.
Pailankan or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
lah.
Do you believe in this, Ru?
I don't know enough
Yeah.
to refute TCM or to be pro TCM.
Yeah.
That being said, the argument of there being no risk, I cannot agree with because I don't have sufficient knowledge in TCM. to
Are you a
validate.
lawyer?
No, I am not. I am not. But maybe I wish I was. But
Yeah, okay.
I have. I don't know, man. TCM to me, I guess I do it out of respect, lah.
Yeah.
Social context, right? My
Yeah.
grandma, she says do it. Do it, law, right?
I'm not going to fight this woman.
Yeah.
The only thing TCM has to work on is to make it taste better, that's it. Then I don't care already. Why is Pepako so popular?
But the placebo
Do I know it
is
works?
it tasting not good, MJ. That's,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like you need to
part lah,
suffer
true
to
lah.
feel better, right? That's like psychological.
true.
Yeah.
that's why you make you feel like,
It's the same logic as was it Monster beverage or one of the energy
No
drink
way.
or Red Bull? You know, like Red Bull doesn't actually taste.
No, it
It
tastes
was
bad.
horrible, man.
Bad.
Yeah,
But I
but
think
that-
that's the point.
That's the point. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the point. You
Like,
make
gives
it
you energy.
taste bad, so
Yeah.
it makes you feel like you have to consciously do it,
Yeah, exactly.
and then that reinforces the idea that you should do it.
That's crazy.
placebos.
I just mini shivered,
That's some big brain shit, though. Not gonna lie.
This is some psychological conversation.
Okay,
Yeah.
so side question. I know this is not related to locum, right?
Yep.
But it may sound a little bit racist. Would you trust the white guy doing acupuncture on you?
Depends where he trained.
Huh?
Depends where he trained.
Or is it? So you ask him first.
Yeah.
Like, hey, where you train?
What's your qualification? I went to a chiropractor and I asked to see their medical certificate.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, because I'm like, and then they got like low key slightly offended. But after that, I was like, great, So I like went through chiropractic like procedures throughout like my whole pregnancy.
Does LocumApps do Cairo as well?
No, we don't right now, but it's something that we might be open to. But because there's too many questionable qualifications,
That's
I think,
true lah.
Yeah, like there are some of them that are like who's to say who's right? Yeah, some do it the apprenticeship way, I think. But then now, like to get that doctor
certificate.
thing, because they had their title, right? You need to go to like certain medical.
So I'm assuming. So you've established the fact that TCMs have sort of a structure around how to get qualified,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
There is a profession behind it.
Yep.
Right?
That's right.
I'm guessing there are regulated bodies around controls of TCM in general. Is there one for chiros? Because if there is, then I guess that's a good way to validate whether or not they're qualified, right?
Yeah,
Probably.
I'm not sure, but basically the Allied Healthcare Act came into force this year. So basically things like that prior to this did not require an annual license, now does. So for example, radiographers in the past did not need an annual practicing certificate, and now they do this year. So there's a few things that, I guess it depends what falls within the scope of that act.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Wow. Damn, man, that's crazy. Eh?
You kind of need to gatekeep certain things because like you want to protect
Yeah.
people, right? Like the risk of
Ultimately
chiropractic
it's- yeah.
practice isn't low.
It's high, man. You can get like severely injured, man.
Vascular dissection from your neck or something. It's like
It
problematic.
holds your neck like
Yeah.
mad for that.
Like Theta is different. Like Theta probably won't get into like allied health.
Theta is just massage, lah, bro. It's just hardcore massage.
Yeah, but they like crack you and then they like snap you.
And people, the
They
people,
do?
who, the
I thought
people,
it's just like kneading.
Have you not seen Chris Leong?
Oh, that guy. Yeah.
Okay, but having said that, right, I had like super bad neck ache.
Chris Leong.
everybody knows Chris Leong, bro. He's got a freaking corner lot outlet in Sri Darling. It's massive.
Who's Chris Leong?
Okay. Huh? He doesn't know Chris Leong. Okay.
guy.
The what? Oh yeah, yeah.
The
You're
herb
right.
guy.
He does Cairo and
Yeah.
people, he's
It's not Cairo, it's Theta. So that's why it's different because like
the thing.
What
Yeah.
in the world? Where do you guys see this on Instagram?
he's
or-
famous.
TikTok, dude.
Yeah, he's actually everywhere.
He's like everywhere, Facebook. Okay, anyway, I attended an event where he was doing it for free and he like fixed my neck that was stuck so bad. Like I think 2 weeks I was like in pain. I couldn't turn my neck. He like grabbed me, lifted me to the air and like snapped me and then my neck was fine immediately after that. So I now believe.
I'm a
I'm
believer.
now a believer. This is Chris Leong.
Wow, quite a good looking chap.
He is. Nice guy.
Oh, I like
I
his
don't know what's
thumbs
going
up.
to help. Maybe he can show a video.
You should get him on the pod, man.
You should. Oh, yeah, you should. I don't know whether he's like.
Are there
comfortable.
shots on him where he's like...
Yeah, it's like all
sure.
over TikTok.
Yeah, it's all over, man.
He's so famous.
Oh, is it? Oh, that means we're too small for him, lah. Treatment neck.
Hey, we got Mati. Don't think too small.
I mean, yeah. Is this his clinic in Sri P? It looks quite Japanese,
I don't
man.
know if it's the Sri Darling one. He has many.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
It's all over. It's all over.
Yeah. So he cracks people.
I've seen so many videos like this in some way.
It transcends like religion. Like even super like Muslim women don't mind him doing it.
Oh, is it?
There was a video that went viral because this girl had her ankle twisted at her convocation. And then he basically fixed it. She could walk on stage to do it.
No
Yeah.
way, dude. This guy's got the touch of God, lah. Like, serious.
He's like famous for that, yeah.
Got a Midas touch in
You
bone
gotta
and
like
muscle.
stalk him. It's like pretty like fun to watch.
Yeah, it's
like,
pretty fun to watch.
satisfying,
It's
yeah.
pretty fun. Yeah.
Is it because it's ASMR fun, or is it because you see
no.
the fella's face of relief after that type of fun?
Yeah, probably more the latter, I suppose.
Oh,
For me, it's the Cairo cracks, man. That's so
Crack
good.
sounds.
Yeah.
oh.
But their shock
terrified.
face also quite like satisfying lah. Yeah.
I'm terrified to see this type of shit. I'm terrified to experience this type of shit also. Because I just know like I can't trust. Okay, so for context, I don't like massages. So I don't like people touching me. I don't know why. I think it's I got it from my dad lah. But like, I just, when someone is like potentially going to kill me, you know, that's in the head snap position and
Yeah,
he's right
yeah.
behind you. That's like a killer.
Yeah,
move.
okay. Can I just point something out?
Ah.
The number of notifications is quite crazy, man.
Oh,
One,
wow.
4, 3,
Nick, are you crazy or what?
Wait, since
14,398 notifications. How
Who is notifying you, brother?
At this point, I feel privileged you even replied to my WhatsApp, bro.
I've never
these
seen
are
that
like
number before. man.
YouTube notifications, right?
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
That
Yeah, I
means
see the bell lah. The
Like
bell.
bell.
bell, but it says 9+. Nick just didn't
No,
open
that number doesn't go bigger than like
that
9. I think.
9. Otherwise, it would have reached the microphone button by now. That's insane, man. So do you think you guys would expand into this?
Okay, so how we do it is that we do it by category. So that's kind of the right question because what we do is that we have recently expanded into optometrist, being one of the new categories.
Wow.
And because now they also have an animal practicing
So they
certificate.
bring the machine there to test your eyes.
So this wouldn't be at homes, right? This would be in hospitals or clinics
So
or
you would have
optometric
the-
centers. So you want a person who can come in and cover someone else who couldn't be there. So that's a new category. And what we tend to do is we do a combination of whether there's enough demand and whether there's enough supply. So we tend to open registrations first. When we hit a certain number, then we open
that's your way.
bookings. So that's how we do it. And then we send like emails out to existing clients. And like, obviously there's always opportunity. Like when you ask about chiropractic, like maybe, you know, there's so many types of like clinical practice areas.
Yeah, it's
And-
health.
yeah. And it's fairly broad. Like a lot of people think, oh, so doctor and nurse only. But like, I mean, even if you think about the traditional
It's the
one,
specialist.
there's already like physiotherapists, there's already pharmacists, you know, and even within nurses and within doctors, there's like subspecialty. You have ICU, A&E, OT, etc., right?
Yeah.
So already like now we're like kind of at 20 service types. Sometimes we close them if we feel like demand's not high enough. We can't spend enough time on them. Sometimes we have to like sub-split them. For example, with ward, we recently explored like going into pediatric ward and adult wards. Because then like if you want to care for a baby, it might be a little
Yeah,
bit
I
different
see.
from caring for an
I
adult.
see.
Yeah. So then
Wow.
we would do that analysis.
So you brought up a super interesting perspective. So you have supply and demand. The supply is obviously your hospitals, your clinics, right?
That would be the demand.
That's the
What's the
demand. The
reverse?
supply is the people.
Right. So okay, the supply.
Yeah, the one hiring, yeah.
Okay, got it. So right now, and you look at things based on category. So each category has its own supply and demand.
Yep. And its own targets internally for us as well.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Broadly speaking, for LocumApps as a whole, is there a shortage of supply or is there a shortage of demand?
So right now, to give you some context to that, we track something called completion rate. So basically, every week people post jobs. And then you would assume that there's a perfect system when there's 100% of like
completion of
all
the
jobs
jobs.
posted will be taken. Generally, we hover at about 70%.
That's quite
Pretty
healthy.
good, actually.
So that's why we try to keep making sure that's consistent across all our categories. When we have a new category, we generally start off the first month expecting 30%, then making sure it goes up to at least 50% for it to justify us like existing. Like that you should be more than half of a chance of you getting someone.
I
Kind
see,
of thing.
I see.
And then like 70 kind of being where we hover at. If we know we've gone below that, that's a not good week. If we've gone above that, some weeks we've gone to 80%. Then we know like, okay, this week went really well. We need to analyze why. Yeah.
I see.
Got it.
That's on
got it.
average.
I see.
Yeah, so every category itself goes into a bit more detail. Like, for example, with wards, we're quite confident we can staff at least 80%. Because there's a lot of overlap as well. Like, if you can work in ICU, you probably could work in a ward, but not necessarily all ward nurses could work in ICU.
Very
et cetera.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Depends on level of experience, I'm assuming.
Yep, life experience and skill set. So one of the things that our algorithm does differently is that we don't credential by job title, we credential by skill sets. So we're basically looking at procedures that you can perform. Meaning
so
that
it
if
will
let's
highlight that and filter based on that.
yeah. So let's say if you're ICU nurse, right? Typically, you would only be able to take additional jobs at ICU places. But sometimes working in such a high demanding or high pressure
You
job
can be
is
stressed out.
and it's one of the reasons that there's such burnout and there's no flexibility. Like for us, we can choose today you want to film, tomorrow you want to edit. Like you kind of can follow your mood a little bit, right? But if you're full on like on the ground all the time, you don't have that luxury. But for the first time, because of the way we credential, they do. Because ICU nurses have certain skill sets. So maybe that makes them suitable for something like OPD, which is outpatient department.
Because it's not so strenuous compared to
Yeah,
ICU.
but they have the skill sets that allow them to do it, even though their years of experience isn't in OPD. So now they can do a part-time job OPD. Maybe they get paid a little lower, but does it keep them taking on more shifts?
And it helps you hit that 70% too, because in the end, ultimately, you want to hit that target and you want them to get jobs too, right?
Yep. And they have some autonomy now, finally. You know?
Yeah. Oh. Actually, I can argue, right? Because I don't know whether I saw this wrongly, but I remember I was looking through the Instagram page and it was how like you guys are actually available. This service is actually available nationwide, so including Sabah Sarawak also, right?
We haven't rolled out there. We haven't rolled out to Sabah Sarawak. Yeah.
I see. But
But
so
there are
far
nurses who register on Sabah Sarawak. Yeah.
Oh, sure.
So they will register, and if they want to come to KL and work, I guess they could. So we will tell them it's like work and play lah,
We
come
have to
and
go
holiday here.
Fly all the way here and do a couple of days of work.
Sometimes they want to spend time in KL anyway.
That's
and then
true.
it pays for their whole
Trip.
stay and trip. Yeah, and people will happily do that. Like, oh, okay lah, I don't mind. I come and visit my friend, visit my uncle, go back during Raya, go back during Chinese New Year. Okay lah, work 2-3 jobs.
Wow.
That's
Interesting,
surprisingly Chinese.
I'm wondering, right? How does it work for you when you approach hospitals? Is it like a cold call thing? Do you have to go one by one?
So like I mentioned a little bit earlier about writing those letters, right? So that's like one of the ways.
Is it one by one? It's like
Cold mail.
Cold mail.
Mail. Yeah, I mean, you make a batch, then you ship them all
But
out.
now I assume some
Small
of them inquire already,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So we have quite a lot of inbound inquiries that come into play. Sometimes the turnover in HR and healthcare is pretty high. Sometimes the staff would enjoy using us, and then they move to the new hospital. They become the in-house referral.
Oh.
And sometimes the nurses
okay.
themselves, they've used this at other places, and they will tell the sister, like the nurse manager, that hey, I really don't like waiting one whole month to get paid. Why don't you guys onboard this platform? It's easier for me to know when you're posting a shift anyway. Because otherwise they'll be doing the traditional method.
Yeah, the
right?
WhatsApp way.
When
oh my
are you
God.
free? When do you want to do this? Have a group, and then whoever takes it first, they put their names. It's like hosting a class gathering. Someone say cannot, and then start again.
Yeah.
So I suppose when it comes to demand acquisition, the acquisition of hospitals and clinics and whatnot, do you have a sense on what kind of coverage you have as a percentage of total hospitals/clinics in the Klang Valley region?
Yep. So we have 30% right now. And this is a good thing about being in such a regulated sector is that it's so easy to see who's licensed.
Yes,
right? We literally
yes,
just need
yes,
to go
yes.
on like the
Just
CCAPS
Google it,
page.
yeah, and
and this is the same way we can kind of estimate demand across other regional places as well.
Very
Like
nice.
if we want to estimate like, okay, would we do well in another country? How many private hospitals do they have, etc. So already we can just kind of check off some hospitals. For us, we are not in any of the fertility hospitals. And that's a big market that we can kind of go into as well. So maybe that's something that we can explore later on. And then this doesn't count clinics and confinement centers, which we also on board because there are thousands of clinics. The thing is, volume is not predictable all the time. Like we can onboard one hospital and this week they're booking hundreds of jobs and the next week they're booking like 5.
Right.
Yeah,
Fluctuates a lot.
exactly. It's like kind of like Grab, right? Like you as a customer, like you might be a regular user, you might just be like a super user, or you might just be like every now and then.
Yep.
So our vision at the end of the day is that I think every hospital should have us in their back pocket. It should be something that if you want, you can use.
Yeah.
And you have the prepayment there already. If you need it, then you can do. Many times I've gotten messages from people kind of saying like, hey, Tiffany, I need someone today. Then I'm like, oh, you guys haven't made an account. We're like literally need to onboard you.
Yep.
And they were like, can you help us first? And then we'll like onboard later.
Wow, that is so true. That's such a real experience.
It's very Malaysian. Yeah.
That's such a real experience.
Yeah. I mean, people kind of like, oh, shoot, they're desperate. They want it now. So then the question for us is like, do we want to allow this kind of thing to happen? Like, or are we turning away business if we don't facilitate that?
Then on an average day, how many jobs do you get? Typically?
Within a week, we hover between 450 to 600 jobs. Yeah. So we try to fill at least 70% of that. That's what we try to fill. Yeah. So if it falls below, like generally I tell my team, like try not, we have like targets to raise the number of jobs posted. And the ways we would do that would be to increase certain types of new like categories. So recently we launched something called junior nurse. So in the past, you needed to be an experienced nurse. So we had a lot of people applying. They were nurses, but they didn't meet the years of requirements. So when we launch junior nurse, they get paid lower. Hospitals get an opportunity to maybe like
Take
onboard.
advantage of a lower cost, but then less experience.
Yeah, and then the hospitals also might want to be able to sell themselves to the nurse, like they want to recruit, right?
Ah.
So they will book them, they can try them out for a while. I always tell hospitals like, hey, this is the new way of recruitment. Like you interview only how you're gonna know, right? When you interview them, get them to book 2 or 3 jobs.
Practice. It's doing and then being there and then being familiar and then only you know whether they can perform, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then sometimes you only find out this kind of work habits when you see them in action.
Yeah,
and maybe the nurse themselves, they don't like the culture. They might just be like, oh, actually, hey, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I don't want to quit my job. Maybe I want to stay in wherever I'm at rather than go.
It's
and come
a
back.
good test for them too. Actually, you get to sample a new working environment. I think.
That's right. And we think like that's kind of what people are looking for these days. They want more information and you kind of need that information through experience, right?
Wow,
Yeah.
that's damn crazy. Way. Imagine if this was something that you could do for other industries. You could just kind of test it, that thing.
Like locum for like your job. Like you want to get someone to help you out today, right?
Like a designer type thing or whatever. You know, you just go in there, do like a couple of days.
Isn't that what
maybe-
Fiverr is for? Something like that?
I suppose, but that one tends to be more
Online.
task specific. You don't integrate into the culture or the team, right? So I guess that's why people have internships.
Yeah.
You know, they want to see whether they want to work there. But the thing about this kind of sector is that that's why being in a clinical space, being such a highly specialized field, is so much more important that you have this database and platform. Even more so than any kind of part-timer kind of thing.
Definitely.
Because like to fill that vacancy, if you have someone who already has that skill set, by right, the knowledge of being able to hand over information is the same across any country, right? It came across any hospital. You should be able to know how to interact with a doctor. Sure, there are like some nuances, like where's the medication, where is that stored, what
Language
system are they using?
preference
Yeah,
and culture.
yeah. But like as a system as a whole, like clinical staff are already trained to hand over information when they pass over. Yeah.
I sound like, events is such a complicated thing because it's like, hand over the project lah. And you're like, the supplier is this, right, no, it's too complicated lah. We just work in-house. But then by right, when you look at it at the medical perspective, someone's life is on the line. I'm like, is a marketing job really that important? The handover is not that difficult lah, John.
No, but like if there's a system for events handover, right? Can you imagine how much easier it was going to be?
Oh my God, it would like lift bricks off my shoulders, man.
So, new business opportunity for anyone.
Oh my God, man. Just thinking about it is so stressful because if I was like a nurse or I was someone that was going to a new hospital and I would hand over like a report of some new patient, wow, I would be so intimidated.
Yeah. Havoc, man.
But in a way, it's a great thing because if let's say if I was a nurse or if I was like a guy that was going to a different hospital for a specialty, right? And I somehow can't really market myself that well, but people have always spoken very highly of me. I think it's a great way to demonstrate it because sometimes if you go to an interview, you just don't interview well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have the converse as well, where some people interview really well, but they're not
don't
like,
perform.
yeah.
So I can kind of see like the pros of it lah, for sure. Wait, hold on, let me just...
Oh yeah, so I mean we're looking at it. So, what's the most I'm just gonna ask like all the stats questions. Like, what's the most popular requests in terms of jobs? And of course, if you're able to share like the typical job amount, what's it look like?
So a lot of people ask us this, and we tried to get data on that, but every week it changes so dramatically. And it differs based on hospital. It depends on how strong their manager is at retention. So for example, some hospitals we will know consistently, they will be looking for A&E. Like we know every week they're looking for A&E. Some hospitals with very busy A&E teams, they don't need to book a single one because they have such a strong, solid in-house team. So to say what is the strongest would be quite tricky because every week it changes. But we do see like patterns in like, for example, ward nurse, ICU, A&E. Those tend to be very high in demand because I suppose every hospital needs someone like that. Yep.
Right. And a typical job amount?
The value of the job?
Yeah.
So on average, like different specification, different levels have different pay rates. On average, when we calculate it, it hovers somewhere between 32 to 33 ringgit per hour. So one job is about 300 to 400 ringgit. Yeah.
Oh, 10 hours.
They work, so some hospitals 8-hour shifts, 10-hour shifts or 12-hour shifts. And sometimes people book them for 4 hours if they want to do like half day on a weekend. So like Saturday morning 9 till like 1 or whatever.
And roughly what percentage are doctors? So I can imagine doctors would probably be the highest ticket ones or no?
In terms of value,
Yeah, like the jobs and all that.
okay, so for us, we don't have that many doctors on board, actually. Like, in terms of number of people, we have more nurses on board.
Yeah.
Occasionally, we do. Like, for now, some of the more popular jobs on our system are for a female doctor. They're looking for female doctors regularly to do 2D scans for, like, babies. So there's, like, clinics in different areas. Like, we have, like, places in Banting, Sri Kembangan. So some of these kind of clinics, they run a clinic chain and they book across multiple areas. So those are a popular job for doctors. Some of the doctors get asked to do rounds. But hospitals like to... hospitals don't see that many doctors. Like you probably need 6 to 10 doctors in a hospital. But you might need like 30 nurses. So in terms of the number of people, like we definitely staff more nurses than doctors.
Oh,
Yeah.
So you've been doing this for like what, almost four years?
Yeah, we just hit 4 years.
Yeah, right. Like, you know, when I look at my mom as a business owner, there's always like this overarching concern that she always has. So for example, like during COVID, is cash flow.
Yep.
Because a lot of things have been paid for deposits and all that. And then the clients are like, oh, you know, I already paid the deposit. But then the hotel is like, look, we can't open.
Yeah.
That thing. So what I'm sure your concerns have evolved over time. Like in 2020, I'm sure it's like database. It's always like your system has to be smooth.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want it to be like driver on the way. You want it to be nurse on the way. That type of thing.
Yeah.
What is your concern this year or the upcoming year?
Yeah.
Because I'm very sure, right, if you own a business, there's always this like umbrella problem that you're facing.
Yep.
What is your current challenge?
The current thought for us is growth for sure. So we basically had a really good year last year where we did about 13 million ringgit worth of jobs.
Wow, shit, that's crazy.
And the year
In 1 year?
Sorry, yeah, in 1 year. And the year before that was about 2 to 3 million ringgit. So like you can see like kind of a big spike. The year before that was like maybe 800K kind of thing. So like every year we can kind of see that going up. And generally, like as a startup, you would expect to kind of keep like spiking. But then you also know like sustainably wise, you cannot just keep, it doesn't go like this all the time. You kind of like need to
climb.
Yeah. So this year I can see that for us, we're going to need to either move out of Klang Valley, which is all these numbers were only in Klang Valley, right? So I just came back from Johor. Like I was in Johor 3 days ago. Speaking to the different hospitals there. And very, very interesting information. Like a lot of the nurses, they work in Singapore, but they are only allowed to work 44 hours a week. So they front load all their 44 hours into like 3 days. And then they like stay 4 days in Johor. So this one on the nurses that we were talking to.
Very interesting.
So then they had like this 4 days of free time and they were like, oh, can I do like part-time jobs in Johor? Which is great for Malaysians, right? Like you're saying we don't have manpower, but like let them share lah. They want to do extra work. They feel like free anyway. Yeah, let them do that. So I mean, it's basically interesting and a quite different market. I think it's a fairly big market as well. Early on in the year, we were in Penang. So that's another market with lots of hospitals. And I think there's still a lot of potential to tap in like Penang, Johor, and many of the major cities.
But what are
in Malaysia.
the differences? Like Klang Valley in some ways is quite straightforward. I mean, it's the biggest and, you know, it's quite...
It's developed already.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think Penang, Johor is always the top of mind. Any difference in...
Culture.
Working, because you talk to hospitals, right? Mainly.
Yep. Okay, so Johor has the additional complication of having different working days. So half the hospitals work like
Friday, Saturday is their weekend.
yeah, but it's not the same throughout every hospital. So it can be a good thing because then we can help reallocate certain staff on different days. Like within the same group, right? Like even KPJ group, 2 of the hospitals we met, they worked the KL time, like Monday to Friday, and then 2 of the other hospitals worked like Sunday to.
Always trying to be different.
Yeah, so it was complicated and like I think for staff as well, if they're trying to plan their days off to like look for part-time work, sometimes they get confused. So like the information transparency will help them for sure. In terms of like the desire to do additional like part-time work, I think the motivations tend to be the same. They want to change their environment, they want to change their pace. Johor has the additional complication of Singapore just being really nearby. So naturally, like I think this is something that every Johorian probably feels like, oh, should I just work over there? You know, but there are lots of disadvantages as well to work in a country that you were not born in. Like you are definitely a foreigner to the Singaporeans. There are quotas, you know, you cannot exceed that. You are just like literally a number in a way. So that for us means that our marketing efforts are a little bit more different. We tend to look for those who already have an interest to contribute back. Like the Singaporean person I was telling you about, she's like working there, she has that free time. Whereas in KL, there's a lot of people who kind of do it freelance. So their alternatives would be they don't work at all. They either decide that, oh no, I'm just going to be a housewife. I don't want to work. But some of them don't want to give up nursing. So they'll do 2 shifts a week, 3 shifts a week. And this is like more common as a culture, like I think probably in KL. Whereas like maybe places like Penang, you're normally on full time, you would do this as additional income to supplement your income. So we need to understand that. And that's why whenever we go to a new market, we always host a meetup with the staff first before we meet hospitals. Because then when we speak to them, we actually understand like, oh, okay, what exactly that you want? And like, is it so different from what we understand?
How do you get these contacts to meet at these specific, like for example, you're going to Johor, right? I'm sure you have to gather a few names, a few contacts and be like, hey, you know, I don't know, you meet up for a makan or you meet up at somewhere. Like, how does this work? How do you get
So
the contact?
one really fun and exciting thing that happened to us in Johor, like that got me like, oh, was basically one of my staff was wearing our locum scrub. And then a nurse like kept staring at her. Like we were in a government hospital, nurse kept staring at her. Then I saw her looking. So I went to her, hey, have you heard of LocumApps? Like literally the creepy person like, hey, have you heard of LocumApps? And then she went, oh, you guys are in Johor already? No wonder I was like looking at your scrubs. So that means this is someone who had probably seen us online. You know, so so they like this particular person was like, yeah, oh my gosh, I didn't know you guys were here. Okay, sure, like great, I will like happily come along to whatever event you're having. We'll say, oh, come tonight, meeting at this place at this time. So that's one way. Another way is literally like, because I mentioned loads of people register onto the app. So like before
we already have a database.
Yeah, so before we enter a new place, and also that's how we decide whether to enter the new market or not. Like we see that, there's loads of people who've already registered. You know, like but
Johor and Penang lah by default.
Yeah, and interestingly, Africa. I don't know why.
Wait, what? Sorry? Africa?
Yeah, of course our app is like global around the App Store. And for some reason, I think Africans use the word like locum as well. So we have a lot of like accounts that's registered.
I see.
But obviously they cannot get approved. But then we can see that. So we're like, oh, okay, interesting potential international market later on. But yeah, anyway, so that's what we do. And then we contact the ones who are already registered. And then sometimes we ask them to bring their friends.
But that implies you have an online marketing strategy to sort of gather these leads in the first place, right?
Yep. Which is basically our team making like reels and like trying to
I
post
see,
online.
I
Or
see.
like there are lots of like healthcare content creators as well. Recently we spoke because we are like I'm not the trendiest person lah, you know. I don't know how to make all this like rabak punya TikTok. So we've seen like some of very interesting ones. Sometimes I'll WhatsApp them about, hey, can I like repost your content? And then they're like, okay, sure. And then they'll say, also interesting, like I wouldn't do locum, but I don't mind you using my content. So sometimes we repost content that's already been made.
Gotcha.
So when you guys have these meetups, right? What do y'all do at these meetups and where do you do these meetups? I'm just so curious because like if I were to do something like that for temp staff, I'll be like, oh, pizza party, let's go. I don't know lah. What does it entail?
Yeah, so we call it locum lepak. So we are
cool.
quite like, I think it's cute lah. Okay, some people will say it's lame, but like basically all our events, like we had a locum launch this year to relaunch our app. Last year we had a locum lunch, and then now we have mini locum lepaks. So some early ones we had it in Coffee Bean. One of them we had it in our office. We literally like opened our office for the day. We say you can come, and then we like just bought like sandwiches, and then they came and like talked. Sometimes they'll ask about their account. Some of them, interestingly enough, like I think half of the people who came for our last locum lepak event in the office had downloaded the app, but they hadn't filled in anything. So they could see the app banner that invited them to the event. So they registered. But they were like, they want to meet us first before they
Just
put
to
in all their
see.
details. Yeah.
Oh.
So then, for example, like the ones that are out of town, like Penang and Johor, we would post like polls on Instagram, and then we would send messages to different people and say like, hey, we're doing a closed one. There's a limit. Like we don't want more than 10 people. Because it's hard to like
to
understand.
host. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then that one we chose, like for Johor, we chose a random cafe at KSL Mall. And then we basically like just
I
booked
see.
the table for like 10 people.
Or then you just guys like hang out, get to know
Yeah,
each other.
yeah. And then sometimes we play games.
Wow.
Like
Oh, very cute.
yeah, it's cute. Like I think the last Locum Lepak event, the game was like there was like this box of paper clips and then like little paper inside. We call it like the surgical station. They take chopsticks and like dish it out.
got
yeah.
it.
So at least they feel like there's something to do in it while they talk to us. Yeah.
Oh,
Do you spend any money as a business trying to acquire more demand or acquire more supply?
Like are there marketing costs
Or,
associated
like, do
with like
you-
customer acquisition costs? in
Yes.
general? Yeah. So when we look at that, generally, like we don't offer you to sign up. Like we won't pay you to register.
Got it.
Something like that. But like I will be happy to like host a meal and we'll pay for the drinks.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
So like you come and talk to us and then we would like
Right,
buy
right.
everyone like a pot of tea so we can share. So it's not so expensive. But at the same time you still have something to drink.
no, because
Yeah.
ultimately, I think what happens is that they are exposed to this platform where they can earn a lot of money out of it as well from side gigs or working in different hospitals and everything, right? So to them, it's kind of like, I mean, I get free tea, I get free drinks, free makan, and I get to earn money after that. There's a bonus for me.
No,
lah,
I think a lot
suppose.
of people are looking for community. Like it's honestly
Yeah.
really difficult. I don't think there's any that really combines. Like our last event in Johor, in attendance were nurses obviously, but there were also dentists. You know, so like how many chances do you get to really integrate with healthcare field? Whereas like I think the US or like other nations, it's not uncommon, right? If you're a healthcare person, you mix like doctors, nurses, there's that same level of respect like across. But especially in Asia, like nurses are still seen as fairly
That's true.
like assistant level, although they're so qualified and they spend so long studying. Like some nurses
Definitely.
who have post-basic, they've studied like 5 to 7 years, you know,
Brutal.
trying to build up their knowledge. I think the head of MNA, like the Malaysian Nursing Association, I think her title is doctor because she has a PhD in nursing.
Wow.
You know, yeah, so she's like doctor nurse something. But it's just interesting because I think when you tell them that, hey, there's this opportunity to meet different people who
Can relate.
can relate, but at the same time give you a different perspective. It's so refreshing for them. For those who've also been in government for a long time, sometimes they want to know what it's like in private.
Ah,
You know,
so they
and-
want to see what the grass is on the other side.
Yeah. And sometimes they just want to like quit, or they've quit a long time already, and they want to know is it worthwhile coming back? Like nursing used to be toxic. What about now? Is it still toxic? Is it still the same?
Oh wow.
So they want to meet
Nursing
and
is
ask about
toxic,
it.
huh?
Well, a lot of them say it can be lah, especially if the hours are really long. People are stressed, right? Depending on the
Yeah.
field, and it can get competitive. Yeah.
Wow. That's kind of wild, man.
So how did you navigate this? Like when you started Locum, were you gunning for like to build a sustainably profitable business from the get-go, or were you okay to run it at like in the red for a period of time? Did you have a runway?
Yep.
Was that period of time stressful?
Yeah, so I think coming from my family who runs like healthcare business, we're very much into like traditional mindset where like we would not be in the red for a long time.
Got it.
So I'll be terrified to see at the end of my month like a loss. Like it stressed me out so much. You know, it would literally like be like, okay, what can we cut? Where can we earn? And that still drives me in a way. That was also one of the reasons why growth is such an interesting question for me, because I'm very used to the mindset of like, let's do it slow and steady. You know, let's do it sustainably. Let's make sure that we're okay. And growth sometimes can come at a cost where you're like kind of in the red for a while. So even making these trips this year after we raised some money was quite difficult because I had to make decisions like, okay, should we spend this money on things that aren't guaranteed? I used to want to only go and meet a hospital if I'm like, okay,
Guaranteed.
70% sure they will close. That kind of thing. You know, I'm like, I don't need to travel so far. I don't spend money. So like even there are different ways we try to save money. Like for example, our trip to Johor, we all 5 of us went in one car. We booked like this set of hotels every day. Like I would share rooms with my staff.
Got it.
So 3 of us girls would share a room,
Right.
kind of thing. I mean, we all got our own beds. It's fine, but like it's still like we would rough it out a little bit more.
Yeah, that's really good.
And I think that's that mindset that the whole team has. I remember very early on, I had one, I think an intern or a staff or something. There was a file and she tossed it into the bin. I remember saying like, hey, what's wrong with the file? They were like, oh, it's broken. And I was like, broken how? And she was like, it doesn't close. And I was like, okay, let me see it. So she had to fish it out of the bin and like it was just a small thing, like a hinge. So like I fixed it. And I was like, this is like $2, man. Like, you know how hard it is to earn 2 ringgit and because we only take 15%. So like 1 hour of job, you go and find someone on the staff and you earn that file.
Yeah.
You know, so that was kind of
true.
yeah. And I was like, that is how much it costs. And you take so long, 2 hours to go and find this one staff to fill the job, and now you throw that away. So I mean, now I don't go and fish things out of the bin anymore, lah. But like at the end of the day, it's still important to kind of look at.
It's a value thing.
Yeah,
It's a value
yeah.
that you hold on to. You just don't want to waste, right?
Yeah, so like even if like let's say we're giving out freebies, we'll think about it in a way. It's like early on we would do like stickers because it was still part of our branding. It's obviously relatively lower cost.
Yep.
And then it still helped like for me it was multi-purpose, right? They left with like a gift, but at the same time, if they took pictures of it, it'll be branding for us. Yeah, so I'll try to like make things like the world use and stuff like that.
Got it. Very interesting. You mentioned 15% as a commission. Perhaps I missed this point
Yeah,
earlier. I'm not
transaction
sure.
fee. Yeah.
Yeah. How did you land at this number?
I tried to go with whatever seemed lower that seemed feasible. But right now, like having done market study, I feel like it should probably sit somewhere at 18, to be frank.
I see.
That's something that perhaps all the new hospitals will have to go with that rate. The older hospitals will probably honor that for a bit longer.
I mean, Grab takes like what, 35?
Yeah, they take from both sides. They take from hospitals. Sorry, they take from like
Consumer
the drivers
and
as well as the...
Come on, man.
Yeah, so
Anthony.
That's Grab Food lah. Grab Car is 22.
Oh,
Not that that's better.
Yeah. So like obviously costs, controlling your cost is one way to do it, to allow yourself to be to go lower, right? And running at like from what I consider a very resourceful way of operating allows us to hit profit like for the past 2 years with that number. But thinking about it, like wanting to grow in a way that would be more community oriented. Like instead of having to share one teapot among like 5 people, I'm like, oh, no drink already, add hot water. Like, you know, perhaps we could, you know, like, you know, if we give ourselves a little more room to
see.
have some
but
cash lah.
if you are more or less profitable, why do you need to raise?
So that part about profitability was always going to be, this is where we're at with the slow growth. Wanting to enter like even a new market like Penang and Johor, things like that actually requires cost because you need to introduce it to a new market, right? And it took some time to even get to profitability, like the first 2 years, and then the third year finally hitting profitability, and the last year being sustainably, like month after month profitable. So I recall telling myself that, okay, we can run as a comfortable kind of like SME, small business, like a agency lah, for a while, or we could do the full-on growth thing. I remember sitting down with my team and asking them like, where do you see the company in 5 years? And everyone had this fire in them to kind of be like, oh, I want everyone to know us. I think we'll be able to help so many people. And then also like when we have events, we get people to like, when they come at the door, we ask them to tell us a story like using the app. And they will literally tell us things like, oh, I actually left an abusive partner because I could earn enough money on my own and I wouldn't have been able to do
Locum.
that. Yeah.
No way.
And then it felt like, oh my gosh, this is like enabling them. And then the other person was like, oh, because of you, I can live in KL. You know, I thought I was always going to be stuck in my small town. Like they would say these kind of stories like, or like I was able to go further study because I could pay off my student loan. So when we heard that thing, you kind of fall in love even more with like, whatever you're solving. And then you
It's
feel,
more than just money,
then you feel like the impact of what you're doing, like wouldn't we want to impact more people? You know, and then of course people will message us and say, hey, please come to Perak. Please come to here. And they would start to like ask for it and check in so often. I'm like, oh, not yet. I'm like, not even not yet. And I was like, okay, not sure. Hold on. You know, and then as that desire built, I remember telling myself, okay, the only way we would be a sustainable business that grew and that would want to raise money would be if it wasn't fully dependent on me. In the sense that a lot of the time people think that, oh, maybe this business is working out because Tiffany, you're the one going recruiting people. You're the one going talking to hospitals. So when I made the plan, when I got pregnant, I decided that, okay, I'm going to take these 3 months maternity leave. I'm going to hire different people to cover me. And we're going to see whether the company still can grow. And
it's a good test actually.
Yeah, and obviously when you're on maternity, you have to take a step back, right? And I really took like a considerable step back. And my team was so considerate. They were like, oh, Tiffany's not around, let's not bother her. Let's figure out, like we have all these SOPs in place.
Right.
We have certain like steps you need to follow. And we had Pickwam and the company continue to grow.
Third year in, and then you're having full of your team to trust.
Yeah.
Are you going to...
I have a great team, a really good team, yeah.
Maybe the silence, but do you plan to give them equity?
So I do want to run a small ESOP, but I'm still figuring out the structure.
Okay.
But like a lot of them don't work for the ESOP, right? Like they didn't come in wanting ESOP. And also this concept is like fairly new in Asia. But I do see them as part of like this founding team, especially the early employees. I just kind of need to decide at what stage are we no longer early employees.
How big is the team now right now?
September we will have about 13. But then when last year was probably about 6 or 7. Yeah.
Wow.
So this year is more. Yeah.
You mentioned costs like going to Penang, right? So let's just use Penang's case study.
Yep.
So you need to raise to sort of take that step function up for growth. Like what costs are involved apart from the obvious traveling and lodging and things like that?
Yep. So marketing costs, one of them, obviously like being able to make the app more robust for location targeting, because you don't want like everything to just be dumped there, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of development costs kind of needs to go into play. We want to be able to maybe categorize our database or sub split it up. At some point, we need to go multi-currency. Right now, we're not, but one of the things that we're building is grouping. So now one of the reasons why we are so popular is because we set this floor price for hiring. Like meaning that if you want to use our app, you need to agree to this price. Yeah, and that removed the negotiation part, which I thought was crazy. Like I can't imagine calling someone and being like, no, I have to negotiate this $2 you. You know, it was confusing for a hospital and it was complicated. So we actually set
Flat rate now.
set a flat rate that we review every quarter. And then this is applied for all hospitals in Klang Valley.
That's
but
good.
the knowledge of expansion is that we know that different states are going to apply different prices.
Yeah, because of the
Different
Correct.
rates.
So actually like building different pools, like it's more of like a lot of app stuff. Yeah, basically spending money on the app. Improving certain things like my team was sitting on plastic chairs for a long time. Sorry guys. Yeah, no. So yesterday I bought like we had to still build lah. So we
IKEA,
bought like
the
100
IKEA chairs.
we bought 100 ringgit Shopee shares. Okay, IKEA chairs are like 200. It's too expensive.
It's pretty expensive.
Yeah.
These chairs don't look like they're expensive, but they're pretty expensive.
No, I
man.
can tell. I sat on it and I was like, confirm at least 250.
Wow, dude, that's on the dot, man.
Yeah, obviously, like you
She
need
knows
to
her
know.
chairs,
Yeah,
man.
you know your cost.
Knows the chairs.
Yeah, you can sit there and tell you.
Chairs are expensive.
Chairs are expensive. Like even a folding chair, like 70 something. I'm like, what?
damn.
Yeah. So okay, besides like general furniture, like those laptops, I basically bought.
Oh, yeah,
a lot of my
man.
team were using laptops that we had bought from a company that had like folded, like a startup that had raised
Secondhand
money and then
stuff.
folded, but then they still had like the warranty on it. So that was the laptops they were using. And then now we could probably buy some new laptops. Yeah. So this is general things that make it less of a grind.
Very interesting. So you raised so that you could expand into other geographical areas, right?
And it's only worthwhile to do that if we knew that there was a chance of growth. Like otherwise,
Of course.
you should just be
Yeah.
a comfortable agency.
But that also implies that I guess you're hitting somewhat of a point of saturation within the Klang Valley.
I wouldn't say that. I would say that there are benefits to expanding beyond the state that would also be seen in Klang Valley. You know, like because obviously staff being transferred like from the government side, you can be transferred across different hospitals as well. Sometimes they actually get moved from KL to Penang. Or there's some people, like honestly, this kind of platform works better the more you have on board. This is like literally definition of network effect.
Yeah,
So like when you restrain your network deliberately because we can't afford it or we're like, oh,
Then
no,
you
we
cannot
don't.
grow, then you cannot earn more. And
Yeah,
it's
that
just-
we're not there yet at saturation, but it will come. And if we wait too long for that to happen, it's like inviting room for competitors. Already after we launched, I think lots of people tried to. Some of the clinics I pitched to also like 5 months later got their own app.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you that,
Yeah,
because I feel that I wouldn't say that the business is easy, but at the same time, I think it's quite replicable.
simple. It's quite simple. It's like straightforward. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, this is like A to B to C. Yeah.
you would have your own in-house app per hospital type of thing, right? All they would have to do is use your app, understand the UI,
Yep.
implement into their
Yep.
own hospital. Because a hospital is like, for example, you're like Sunway or something, right?
yeah.
Or SGMC, huge hospitals.
Yep.
Easily you can invest into creating an app
Yep.
in-house for your type
And
of
a
thing.
lot of them come to us after they've tried to do that. So they've already wasted the money. Like some hospitals we speak to, like when I spoke to them in 2020, they were like, no, I'm building my own app. And then like this year, they will say, okay, we are going to onboard. So like, honestly, platforms like these work so well because we're independent. There are certain things that cannot be run by the same facility they're talking to.
Yeah,
There's no
because
balance of
red
power.
tape and,
No, not even red tape. There's no balance of power. Like basically, this only can work because we're hitting the sweet spot
Yeah.
between the demand of both the staff as well as the hospital.
Oh, that's true.
I mean, your interests are aligned
Aligned,
on both sides. lah.
Yeah, correct. And like we want to keep that balance very, very precariously on that tip. But hospitals will always feel the inclination to, oh, you're all on my app ready. Okay lah, shift towards this.
Yeah. That was what I was probably like. Earlier on, she mentioned there's a floor price. If a hospital build the app, they'll lower the floor price or have no floor price at all.
Oh.
Yeah. And then eventually it will just fail. Or perhaps the shifting may be more advantageous to the hospital. Like the way you allocate, you might want your better, higher quality staff working more urgent shifts, which could burn them out. And then you don't actually meet their demands. But on the other hand as well, like in a way they could unionize, right? If all of them agree, hey, you all
That's
don't take jobs
why.
anymore, the hospital also has problems.
Yeah.
But then for us, because we're shared on a thing, your bad behavior in one hospital can affect
translate.
your rating in like and your ability to take jobs in other hospitals as well. So this system really like should exist. And that's why like when it comes to recruitment and stuff like that, people don't always go through the company's website because you might not get the best outcomes.
So there is a rating system after the completion of each
Yes,
shift.
that's right.
or-
Are you
That's
at
right.
5 stars or your
5 stars based on 5 criteria. So there's like job knowledge, I think punctuality.
Initiative, that thing.
Yeah, like 5 specific things, and then they will rate based on that. So generally, we don't make that viewable to the hospitals yet. But if the staff is constantly getting below 3,
Algorithm drops them down to the lower.
right now we do a warning, verbal warning, suspension. Then we do blacklisting.
wow.
So
damn.
because what we're trying to do is efficiency, right? So it's basically time matching. So if you drop people based on the algorithm to be lower down, you don't get speed. So it's always a question of what we need to achieve here. Like, do you want someone who's going to be the best for you, or do you want someone who's going to be fastest? By right, like for example with flights, when you book like on Skyscanner or whatever, they'll tell you like what is the best, and that tends to be a combination of both, right? But then like at the end of the day, what we've seen right now is that we want to be able to consistently fill first, and then we want to eliminate those who don't deserve to be on a platform. That's how we view it, rather
because
than
you want to be seen as a quality platform as well.
yes, that's right. So rather than optimize it that way, we would rather eliminate those who don't deserve to be on it, and then rehabilitate them back in, either through training, either through other things. Our hospitals will need to say that I'm okay with them to come back.
Oh, that's damn cool, man.
What percentage of your total supply have actually done a job?
Yep. So in terms of receiving applications, we've received right now, like to date, we've received over 30,000 people applying to join our app. Only 7,000 of those are approved. Sometimes this 23,000, it's not that they are not nurses. Like what I mentioned, it's because
specialists?
prior...
It's us. We just signed up.
Oh, yeah, it's
Yeah.
you guys.
We are the
it's
problem.
all the people who want to interview me. Damn. Yeah, so no, but basically it's I think sometimes they don't meet the number of years of experience. So we will have like incomplete notes, like, oh, you need to come back in a year,
Got it.
etc. And but sometimes they are just like random people. Or people who overseas, like I mentioned, some like Africans.
And
Yeah.
So of the 30,000 folks who've tried to sign up,
7,000
7,000 have been approved.
About that. And then about 4,000 have worked.
Oh, that's really good. That's over half.
Because bear in mind that this is already a very specialized app. So this isn't going to have the same statistics as like a generalized,
Of course.
like
of
to the
course.
public. Yeah, because people who don't really know, like you will never search LocumApps. You won't even see it and be interested unless you're going to talk to me,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So like that's generally why we really have a pre-filter. And that's why I'm okay with making the download page, like the registration page, so complicated. Like initially I thought like, let's simplify it because it takes so many steps to get to later on.
yeah.
But there's no point because like I actually want you already to be deterred at this stage. So I don't have to review an application of someone who doesn't bother.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Actually, you know, when I was so when MJ introduced to have you on the podcast, I was also thinking like, actually, I have no idea what locum means, right? Because to me, like, I'm an average guy and I just go to the doctors when I need to be treated or when I
Yeah,
need a
as
checkup.
a patient, it's like, the consumer doesn't need to know.
And in fact, like, I didn't think about it too much, but only today when you start using the word and when you said Africans use that word very often,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, actually, I think it's intentional, right? The naming convention also technically.
That's why you saw the app that sounded so similar, the LocumApp.
Yeah. I thought it was LocumApps.
That was another app that was, but ours is called LocumApps.
Yeah.
Okay, and the only reason I put the APPS is because that was the only .com domain that still remained.
Oh, sure.
So like locumapp.com was taken and it was like 1,000 ringgit to get it. I didn't want to pay that. But then it was LocumApps. And at that time we were a two-sided platform, so there were 2 apps. That was like the staff side and then the hospital side. So I was like, okay, it's 2 apps. It's fine. I can use both apps. So now the name has stuck. So now we're LocumApps.
I mean, it is what it is. Like, it's okay lah.
Yeah.
I have a question on telemedicine actually.
Okay.
I can see maybe there's a connection for you guys where I mean it's very simple. Like people just call up and then you pay by an hour. Is that something that you are thinking about?
Yep. So we basically are open to telemedicine providers who want to use our staff. So they can look for stuff on our platform. Because the telemedicine providers are going to go through the same problem. Sure, they have an app, blah, blah, blah. But they're going to need to they're going to look for the doctors, right? So they can use our app to source for that. And basically for us, it's great because it's a new way to work. Like what we are trying to do is we believe that we want to accompany every clinical staff on their entire career journey. Sometimes that's going to look like full-time. Sometimes that's going to look like part-time. Sometimes it's going to look like a mix of both. And now, interestingly, it's going to look like a little bit of online work as well. You know, so if we can provide that, like not go straight to consumer for it, there are enough people trying to do this already. But if they need help getting doctors, they can use us, top up some money, and then if the demand comes in, they can use us. So instead of hiring someone on payroll over demand that's like not quite verified yet.
But to be fair, telemedicine is not even that big in Malaysia right now.
I think a lot of people use it to get MC.
Using what? Sorry?
Use it to get MC.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the EMC without going out to get an MC.
Yeah.
Type of
Is that a
and-
thing you can do?
Yeah, but I don't. It's not like super good practice. Like there are some apps that like I think my dad's working on with some people. They combine telemedicine with tele-exam.
Oh wow.
So basically, they have a device that helps you check like temperature, blood pressure. So doctors, you as a consumer will have that with you. So then at least your MC is like more legit lah. And then if you're actually sick, right, like you actually need your doctor to check you, then there are ways to do it with like tele-exam. So it's an IoT thing. The device is synced up. Maybe you should interview my dad.
That would be sick, man. Actually, I was, when you mentioned that, actually, I was like, if you have an Apple Watch or if you have like a Garmin or if you have something that can track your blood oxygen or you can track your heat, your temperature, that would be so good. That's
To
like,
integrate,
verification of like how sick you are and the type of thing. It's not difficult to implement.
Yeah.
Technically, you just gotta link it with your health app, link it to watch. I'm like, bro.
And link it to interpretation by a doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my dad was working on a project like that as well.
Oh.
Yeah. So I think it's more of the fact that when he sees patients, I think he definitely has patients who come in and they say, "Oh, I'm really active. I like exercise quite regularly." He's like, "Okay, show me your health data." And they're like 2,000 steps a day. He's like, okay.
2,000
Very
steps a
telling,
day.
very telling.
2,000 steps a day. What do you do? Get into your car, go to the parking lot.
Okay, I'm like outing myself here, but honestly, that's like pretty much my steps. Like 2,000 to 4,000 is bad.
Yeah, normal, man.
It's very difficult to get 10K a day, man, in Malaysia. It's tough,
but
man.
we should all strive for it.
I strive for it. I've been
should,
200 days straight, 10K steps.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
Yeah, man. Hardcore. I feel like
That's an
it's-
app called that rewards you for it or something.
Yeah,
Reward.
AIA.
Oh, is it? No,
Yeah,
that's Vitality. No, there's another one, like new one called Reward.
Oh, is
I don't know. I read
it?
about it on Welcome Post like yesterday. I haven't registered for it, but it gets you points and like vouchers and things.
I don't need it. I just need my hunter rank to go up on Monster Hunter.
Okay, so gamification clearly works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pokemon Go and all these things are like my motivation. So I tend to go outdoors because I feel like, oh shit, I didn't hit my...
Steps.
Like, okay lah, it's an excuse for me to go out and just play my game, that type of thing. I'm like that old uncle that you see.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's
Yeah.
good. That's good. And that's how the old uncle became old. Because all the ones who didn't bother walking didn't get to old
Yeah,
uncle
and all
stage.
those old uncles that still play it, they're smoking like a pack a day and they still can walk. I'm like, wow, you guys are intense. But then those old uncles and aunties that stay at home, they're the ones that,
Okay.
yeah. It's tough, man. You were saying how you were asking your staff like,
Yep.
what's your 5 year? Where do you see this in 5 years? Where do you see this in 5 years?
I always tell them like, I think it's only worthwhile to raise if you're going to go international. So that's something that scares me. But at the same time, I feel like I don't want to just be one of those companies that, I want to go international to go international. But honestly, the sector of healthcare is one that is already so international. How many like doctor friends have gone overseas? How many nurses are being poached like internationally?
Definitely,
So like having that network already, people on the ground understand that. It's just that licensing hasn't quite like caught up. Like they still make you license like nationally and things like that. I think having a database of very, very regional being like ASEAN kind of, or maybe Asia Pacific, like in Australia, New Zealand, kind of having those people on the platform, I think as nations in general, we will all benefit.
Definitely, man.
Yeah, because people, they want to go, they'll go anyway. It's not like hiding information from them is going to stop anyone.
Yeah.
Right? But then if you want them to come back, which we see a lot, like we see so many healthcare staff kind of message us because they want to come back and they want to know like, is it worth coming back? So they want to know what the landscape's like. They want to know, can I try a job to see whether or not I want to move? I'm coming back for holiday.
Right.
So honestly, if you had this kind of system that was a little more integrated, more transferable, I think we will see benefits overall. It's like kind of how like I think Malaysia a couple of years ago, we didn't really have that many high-skilled like programmers. But obviously as remote working kind of improved, we got exposed to better managers.
Yeah.
Our local staff, obviously, quality went up as well. And then now they are running things and now like we can expect quite high quality programming coming out of like Malaysians.
Wow.
So I'm guessing the next step
Would
is
be
it Singapore?
I don't,
No, right?
not necessarily.
It's not
no.
e- it's not
Singapore's
that
a
easy.
small market.
That's true.
Singapore's a small market.
place. lah.
Oh, you heard that?
It's not like Singapore
It's
doesn't
statistically
know
true lah.
that they are small. Like size-wise, they are small.
Well, was it
Yeah.
Indonesia,
the
lah,
pebble
right?
down south?
So
right?
Indonesia is a very big market,
Yeah,
but
polar
it's also
opposite.
very far apart, meaning that and the currency is quite small. So I'm getting like I'm exploring a few options. I think Australia is one of them, Indonesia being one of them. Interestingly, Hong Kong.
I always
being another.
forget Australia is in our backyard also.
Yeah, Australia's really nearby and lot, but the reason we know is because clinical staff go to Australia all the time. So we kind of can see the demand of where things are going. So one of the things that we're currently in the process of is actually we're applying for a full-time recruitment license. So right now we're doing matching. We don't need a license for that. But as you move into like placement territory, you do need a license. And that's something that we are currently in the process of obtaining because that opens us opportunities to do full-time staffing.
Oh, wow.
So generally the landscape is quite big, right? We're looking at part-time matching here. Subsequent to that, we can look at scheduling and shifting for full-time staff as well as in general, just like full-time staffing. And then subsequent to that, like I mentioned about kind of like sending people to homes. That could be like an outer ring of the market that we touch.
Feels like it's so broad in some ways.
There's a lot of potential.
tough.
There's a lot of potential. So like I think sometimes the expectation is that, this can be quite niche market. But actually when you think about it, everyone needs healthcare. And this is very transferable. So it's much bigger market I think people had anticipated. And what we hope to do is be able to kind of see those potential early and be in a good position to have these clinical staff on board already by the time other people notice that.
Are you looking for investors to grow it?
We are still fundraising. Yeah, so we have raised around. I'm in conversation with a few. So if anyone still wants to hit me up, you can email me. You can put my email somewhere.
Sure. I'll put it in the description. I think it's incredible. I feel like if you were to have some, the reason why I asked that question is also because you know how like when you look at very successful companies, not all the times the founder ends up being like the CEO. Not all the time. Sometimes they do, right? And there's a difference between like starting a company and also running like a huge ass company.
Yeah,
right.
sure.
I think it was like Uber. This guy is like a crazy cowboy guy, and then he's like F8.com.USA, and then he's like, do it. And then after that, when he goes to that point where he's so large, you're like, I don't think you're the right guy to run this company anymore.
Yep.
Do you feel like you would face that? Do you feel like you're very confident in doing it?
There's a theory about it. I think it's called like PAEI. I don't know if you heard of it. It's like producers.
Oh yeah. It's like this. It's like MBTI but for work.
Yeah, for like working people. So it's like producers,
I've done it before, I think.
administrators, executors. I forgot what I is like.
Influencers. I'm guessing.
Those are all great guesses.
Intimidators.
But yeah, maybe it's that one. I don't know. Someone should look it up. So like at different stages of the company, you kind of do need different strengths.
Yeah.
So like for people who are good hirers, they can still kind of stay a CEO. Like if you can hire good people who assist you, like I think Mark Zuckerberg being a great example of that.
Yeah.
Because like he hired the kind of right personality types to assist him at different stages. Like I know for sure like I have some strengths, I have some weaknesses, and like I just need to make sure that I'm kind of hiring the right team and being able to differentiate and being able to let go when it's time for certain people who may not be contributing in a way that we had intended.
It's tough,
and
man.
including myself, I need to be able to look at it and kind of say like, oh, okay, maybe this is the limit of my knowledge. And I can see that in certain fields already. Like I used to be a blogger.
Whoa.
Yeah, when I was like 15, I had a blog. Okay, and that was
Zanga.com.
Blogspot. Yeah. Okay, I had a domain. I was on a newspaper for like a blog to watch or something.
shoot.
Okay? And like, regardless, that to me at that time was like being this social media savvy person, right? But obviously now we are at like a point when like TikTok's the thing, and I cannot wrap my head around it. It's like too fast. I'm like so old, And
I
like,
also have that problem, man.
yeah.
It's all right.
So I felt like back then I got social media, I got marketing, but obviously times have changed. I no longer get marketing. It's fine now because clinical staff are generally millennials. They're not as young. So I don't need to know that yet.
Yeah.
But I can tell like, at some point, this information is going to surpass what I know. So like for example, with SEO, it was not too difficult because I understood that because of blogging, right? So that's why early on, that was a big priority of ours, making sure the hospitals Google us, they will find us. And that will work for clinical people, for the hospital side, because they're like older, they tend to still use the internet the way I'm familiar with. But that's not going to work for younger nurses coming out who
Totally
going to want to
different.
register. Yeah, and that's where like the limit of my knowledge, I can see already like, I actually don't know this. Is it worth my time to go and be the person to learn this? Or do I send someone else, learn it and groom them to grow? And that's something I need to get familiar with doing, yeah.
Very cool.
That it takes a lot, man. You say that.
He keeps saying that.
You say that, but it's a lot, man.
Yeah, of course.
You know, like
It's
for
very
me, I do
business-like, you
PowerPoint decks for presentation. Do.
Yeah.
Out. Do. Out. Present. And you're like, my mom's like, oh, you need to teach a junior to do it. I need you to follow me to business meetings. I'm like, oh my God. I don't know whether I can trust. I groom Yong, then Yong was like, oh, he can do it. Then when you really see him do it, you're like, whoa.
But it's so satisfying, right? Like
It is, but it's a fear. It's like a roller coaster, right? There are ups and downs.
Yeah.
I see it when it's going up here. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how I'm gonna pass this shit lah.
You gotta let go to some extent.
Yeah, I gotta let go.
You gotta let go.
Yeah, man. But I feel like maybe we are lucky because in this generation we are able to see the previous generation go through that and take a lot longer time than we go through it.
Yeah.
So I think that's the upside to it. I feel.
Yeah. And also as a boss and a manager, I always have to remind myself that sometimes I think letting go is a sign of trust. But also at the same time, sometimes they don't want us to let go yet. They will feel like you didn't guide me enough.
Some people actually want the micromanage.
Yeah. And kind of being able to identify the point on which you're like, okay, you can do it. Like, I trust you. You should trust yourself. That being one thing. And another being like, I'm not setting you up to fail. Like, because that's like a mistake I've made many times in the sense where I'll be like, I'm sure you guys can figure it out. Like, because I figured out lots of things. So I'm like, just Google it. It's fine. Like we made a commitment to do something and we're like, yeah, I'm sure we can Google it. And now ChatGPT is easier, okay. But back then I'll be like, just Google it, we'll figure it out. And then when they don't feel adequately supported, they feel like I've just thrown them into the deep end. Yeah. So I kind of like learn like, okay, you kind of do need to keep like a hand, like now my kid's trying to walk, right? So I just put my hand underneath like kid. So he doesn't know I'm helping him, but I'm there to catch him. Something like that. Yeah.
It's so strange. I feel like every industry, you talk about the technical stuff first, and then when you get to a certain point, it's always a human thing.
Yeah.
It's always a human thing. And I'm like, wow, damn, it's so crazy.
Yeah. So maybe this conversation will be different 10 years from now when AI is a bit more sophisticated.
I think the conversation always changes, even if it's next week, man. It's crazy, man. I don't have any more questions. I don't know if you guys have any more questions.
No. I think that's all.
It was
Yeah.
incredible having you on. I feel like I learned so much. It's insane. Every time I have a guest on and then you talk about different industry, I'm just like, oh my God.
This is a different world, right?
It's
Like
a
the world
different world.
expands, right?
So unique.
It's so different, but at the same time, it mirrors in some ways. I'm like, wow.
I didn't even know there's this concept of locum.
Bro, I didn't even know the word existed, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, since you were asking, it means Latin for temporary worker.
Oh.
It's a Latin word. Yeah.
Latin word for temporary worker.
Damn.
And different countries use different words. Like US call it like moonlighting.
What?
Yeah, that's what my mom says. That's what my
Moonlight.
mom says. That's what mom says.
Moonlighting.
It's also so trendy, right? Moonlighting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mom
Sounds
was
like
like, dude, right, when I was editing a video on the site, right, mom was like, are you moonlighting?
Then you're like, what am I doing?
Then I'm like, I'm earning more money, lah. It's the question, right?
Yeah. So that's the word. Yeah.
Yeah. But whatever, I mean, it's what it is. It's so strange. Yeah. I appreciate you coming all the way.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you having this conversation.
Cool.
And I appreciate how much I learned from you. It's insane.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Hey,
It's fun.
Yeah, man. I hope you had fun. I feel like, how many hours have been? 2 hours? Wow,
Perfect.
sweet.
A
Yeah,
little
man.
bit more actually.
Yeah.
We started at about 12:36.
Cool. Thank you so much for coming, man.
Okay,
We gotta
thank you.
post,
Take a
we gotta
photo,
post
right?
for the thumbnail real quick if you don't mind.
yes, okay.
So,
The
yeah.
camera here.